All right. So, thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Just a second. Hmm. So, as we introduced the program yesterday, we will be covering the tasks one by one, all the tasks, all the 26 tasks. Today, we will discuss two, and every day we'll be discussing two tasks on the weekdays. And we will be able to cover the entire set by the 21st of August, right? And this way, you will have seen all the tasks, what are important things to know from the exam perspective. Okay, so we are focusing completely on the exam while we are discussing this. Perfect. So let us start the discussion from the first task itself. Right. So we are starting with people domain. The first task is develop a common vision. Right. As you know, there are three domains in PMP exam: people, process, and business environment. We will start with people domain first, and in people domain there are 8 tasks. Okay, so 8 tasks in people domain, 10 tasks in process domain, and another 8 tasks in business environment domain. Total 26 tasks are there, which is what we will cover in the next 3 weeks. Okay. We will go 2 tasks at a time. So first, we'll discuss the task number 1, which is to develop a common vision. Then today itself, we'll be discussing about the manage conflicts as well. Tomorrow, we will discuss leading the team and engaging stakeholders. Then day after tomorrow, we will discuss aligning stakeholder expectations and managing stakeholder expectations. And then again on Monday, we'll be talking about the remaining 2 tasks. Right? So Monday to Friday, we'll be meeting regularly, discussing these tasks, understanding what is important in the exam so that I can help you quickly revise all these tasks for the exam. Right? At any point of time, if you have any doubts, any question in mind, please do let me know. After the end of every task, I would let you know how you can practice the 10 questions for that particular task. All of you would have access to the mock exam package. You'll need to go to that package. You'll go to the domain-wise question, task-wise questions. Go to people domain, go to the task. I'll show you the method as well, show you the path as well at the end, so that you can practice these questions as well. My suggestion will be that if you have time, you can practice immediately after the session ends at 9 o'clock India time, and solve 10 questions each from both the tasks. Okay, just 10 questions, and review those questions well. After you have done that, we will tomorrow you have some doubts. We will first discuss those doubts and then start with the next task. Right? That's what we're going to do, just to simplify things. Every day we'll discuss 2 tasks. After that, you will be solving questions on these 2 tasks. Whatever doubts that you might have, you can bring that on the next day. First, we'll discuss the doubts, then we'll cover the remaining 2 tasks. Okay. And every task, we will be discussing what the task is, why the task is important. Then we will discuss what are the essential actions to be taken by project manager to ensure that they complete the responsibility. Every task is a responsibility. So we'll discuss those actions. Then we'll discuss some typical scenarios, typically 3 scenarios that you might see in the exam. The idea is not to cover all the scenarios, but to share with you what are the ways in which PMI can ask the questions in the exam. And then we'll discuss the exam mindset, which will help you in answering those questions. Okay, for every task, we will repeat this and we'll ensure that we have covered everything. Right? So the first is developing a common vision, which means we are talking about developing a project vision. What is a vision? Okay. Typically, vision is something that you are trying to achieve. You want to reach somewhere, you are looking at the purpose of the project. Why are you doing the project? Right? This is a very, very important understanding. Most of the times, we may miss to discuss what the vision is in our real project. If you ask me from my experience, I have never done this. Right? I have been part of project, managing projects for 10, 15 years, but I've never done this until recently when I started working on our digital learning product for Edzest. That's when I realized the value of actually understanding why we are doing whatever we are doing. Right? So that's what project vision is. Project vision is telling us why we are doing the project. Once you know the why, it is easier to motivate your team members. It is easier to take decisions. It is easier to manage project with less stress because ultimately your goal is clear. Right? Ultimately, what you are trying to achieve is clear. Ultimately, why you're doing it is also clear. So your day-to-day decisions improve considerably. Okay. So what is a vision? It's basically a shared description. Right? Shared is important here. Whatever we are trying to achieve, we are trying to achieve together. Right? So everybody should have the same mental picture of why we are managing the project. Right? So it's a shared description of what? Of a desired future outcome. Right? What are we trying to achieve? Why this project matters? What does it aim to achieve? And what the success would look like? It is said that always start with end in mind. Right? You want to prepare for PMP certification, always think that yes, next month, next to next month, September, October, November, that's when I want to get PMP certified. You should have that goal. Based on that, you will be able to schedule better. Based on that, you will be able to prepare better. If you have just kept it open, that okay, I'll attend the sessions, I'll discuss, I'll keep coming back to the sessions, I'll keep going to the videos, I'll go to the YouTube, I'll keep solving some questions, but you have no dedicated time in mind, it will be very difficult to track your progress. It will be very difficult to uh, keep yourself motivated to achieve that goal. Right? So you should always start with a goal in mind. You should always start with end in mind. That's what this is saying, right? So you always start with a project vision. Right? It's a shared description of the desired future outcome that explains why the project matters, what it aims to achieve, and what success look like. Right? Now, why is this developing a vision is important? Why is it important for project success? Right? Currently, we're looking at the project part. Right? Why do we need to develop a common vision? Right? Any idea, anyone? If you would like to share, why do you think developing a common vision is important? Few of the points I discussed, but I want a little bit interaction as well. So, why do you think a vision could be important in projects? How does it help in project success? How does it help in project management, basically? Yes, Mansi, please go ahead.
Yes, so that everyone will be on the same track where means everyone will know that what we need to achieve and where we need to go.
Right? To bring everyone on same page, as we like to call it in project, right? So
Yes.
this will help bring everyone in on same page. What else? Anyone, please?
Also, it will help us to get into the what do you say, common, I mean, what we committed to the project or to the object, like what. So it'll help us to get everyone in the same page so that the delivery will be easy.
Okay. So what I understand is you're saying that it will be help us, of course, bringing everybody on same page and build a clear picture of what we are trying to achieve, right?
Yes, yes, Amit.
Right. So whatever we have committed, whatever we have discussed. So what is it that we are really trying to achieve? So build a clear picture of what we are trying to achieve. Absolutely. Right. What else?
By developing vision,
Hmm.
we will try to align with organization vision.
Yes, absolutely. So it will help us in aligning the project to organization's vision, right? See, projects are not happening independently. Projects are happening within an organization. Organization will also have its vision, right? So if we can align the project to organization vision, we will be able to understand whether this is a really a good vision or not. Should we do it? Should we not do it? Right? All those questions are always there in project. Right? So aligning the project to organization vision is also an important thing. Once you know the project vision, you will be able to see whether it is helping the organization move ahead or not. Right? Absolutely. What else?
All people in the organization
Hmm.
will track the same going in the same
Same
track.
direction. Yeah.
Yes,
So
same direction to achieve this vision.
right. And very, very colloquially said, very simply said, if somebody is having a vision, right, then we know that we are going in this direction. Everybody will know that we are going in this direction. If you don't know the goal, what will happen? One team will go here, one team person will go there, one person is going there, somebody is not working at all, right? So if there's a vision, then there's a force that is pulling every team member towards themselves. If there is no goal, if there is no success discussed, if there is no vision discussed, if there's no purpose discussed, the team will be lost. Right? People would not know where to go. Just imagine this. You are going to a particular city. You don't know where the right direction is. What will happen? Somebody will go left, somebody will go right, somebody will not go at all. Right? So that's the whole idea, that whenever you are starting the project, it is very, very important that you sit with relevant stakeholders, discuss and finalize the vision of the project. Vision is not just given to anybody. Vision should be discussed, collaborated, and then finalized. Okay, so this is why it is important. There are many other reasons also, but thank you so much for sharing these points. So why is it important? It will help us align the stakeholders around a common purpose. When we talk about stakeholders, we are talking about team members, we are talking about customers, we are talking about suppliers, vendors, management, everybody. Anybody who holds a stake in the project is a stakeholder. Whenever we are talking about stakeholders, we are talking about every single person in the project. Okay. Second, it also provides a clear direction to the project team, just what Abdullah said, right? So it helps us in ensuring that everybody is moving in the same direction. What else does it help us in? It helps us in connecting the project work with expected value, right? We discussed this. We need to connect it with organizations' expectations. We need to connect it with why are we doing this project? Vision will help us in that. Then it also supports consistent priorities and decision at the execution level. Right? Many a times, you all have experienced it. I have experienced it. Everybody experiences it. Right? That we are stuck between what should we do? Should I do this now? Should I do that now? Should I do this way? Should I do that way? Should I use this tool? Should I use that tool? We are confused in project. Right? What will resolve this confusion? The vision. Ultimately, why are we doing the project? Because of XYZ reason, which means that now this will help us in setting priorities and decisions as well. So goals help you in understanding why something is priority or deciding why this is a priority, what should be the decision. Right? Ultimately, if you relate it all back to the decision that you want to take, or the goal that you want to achieve. Right? What else? It reduces the misunderstanding about project success. I'll tell you, sometimes if you are constructing the building, you would think that, okay, constructing the building on time, on budget, on quality is done. We are successful. But if nobody is using that building, can you say that you are successful? Probably not. Right? Maybe it was a part of design. Maybe it was not a part of your responsibility. But ultimately, if you are responsible for getting that building constructed and nobody is living there, probably you are not successful. The reason I'm saying probably you are not successful is because these success criteria are discussed in the beginning itself. Right. So what would happen is somebody would think that, okay, I just need to construct the building. Somebody would think that, no, I want to construct the building. I also want to ensure that the building is useful for the people who are going to live in that, for the people who are going to work in that. Right. So there are two different understanding of vision. If you have a clear vision written, discussed, and regularly discussed with the team, it will also help you reduce the misunderstanding of the project success. Okay, so this is why developing the vision is important. It aligns the stakeholders, it gives a clear direction to the team, it connects the work with expected value at the organization level. It also helps us in prioritizing and taking decisions, and it reduces the misunderstanding about project success. That's why we must develop a vision and we must ensure that it's a shared vision across all the stakeholders. Right? How would you do that as a project manager? How would you do that? What activities you would need to take? Right? First, understand the purpose. Right? Initially, the customer would have discussed with the management, salesperson were involved. Probably you were not involved as a project manager. So discuss the business case with them, discuss the benefit measurement plan with them, discuss why they have selected this project, understand it well, right? Then identify the key stakeholders and try to build a shared understanding among those key stakeholders in the first beginning, and then build that understanding across the team as well, right? So build that shared understanding, keep communicating and reinforcing the vision, right? If you just tell somebody that this is the product vision, they would understand it, but they will not be able to follow it. They understood, you said, okay, this is the vision, good, great. But then they forgot, they got into their day-to-day work, they got busy, right? And then they were not able to think of the vision again. So if you have discussed only in the beginning in January, they will not be able to remember in February, March till December. So what should we do? We should communicate and we should reinforce the vision. Regularly try to connect their work with the vision. You don't have to nag them out by always talking about the vision, but try to regularly connect their work to why we are doing this. Once the team members understands why they are doing whatever they are doing, they will be able to manage the projects better. Right? Also try to review and refresh the vision. Just because vision was created once does not mean that this cannot be changed. It can definitely be changed. That's the beauty of vision. That you started with a certain understanding, right? Over the course of the project, you realize that this understanding does not hold true anymore. Review and refresh it and keep communicating with the team members, right? So in order to develop a common vision, first you need to understand what that vision is, figure out who are the people involved in this, build a shared understanding, communicate and reinforce, and keep reviewing the vision regularly. Okay, that's how you develop a common vision, right? So what we have discussed is what vision is, why vision is important, and what can we do, right? Three things we have discussed: what, why, and how. Now let us try to understand what will be there in the exam. Okay, so I will be yeah, please go ahead.
The previous slide.
Yeah.
Here, can we add the vision will be smart?
Yes,
some
typically when we say that we should have the vision, vision is 2 to 3 sentences, okay, or maybe one sentence itself. It should be short, okay, and it should be something that people can remember. So it should be easy for the memory, right? When you talk about the goals, okay, that's when you detail it with something called SMART: specific, measurable, aligned, realistic, time oriented, right? So these are the techniques in which you can write the goal. Goal is little bit more detailed than the vision. Okay, vision is typically, for example, Amazon is e-commerce product, right? So Amazon's vision is to sell anything and everything online, right? Very short, right? To sell anything and everything online, and maybe one or two few more words, right? That is the idea, that vision need not be written in a document somewhere where people need to access it and then be able to see it. It should be short. One sentence is also good enough, but typically we have seen 2 to 3 sentences which people can remember, which people can keep in mind. Okay, and goal is something that is in detail. I just wanted to say that you were saying something. Sorry, I cut you off. But is this what you're talking about, Abdullah?
Yes, clear. Thank you.
Perfect. So goal is a little bit more detailed, where you can have use different techniques to define the goals. Vision is short. It should be easy to remember.
Okay.
Perfect. Right. So we have discussed what vision is. We have discussed why vision is important. We have discussed how we can ensure that we develop a common vision. Now we will discuss 3 typical scenarios that you might see in the exam. You might not see them in the exam, but it will help you in understanding how this task is tested in the exam. Okay, that understanding is more important. Right? So let's try to see the typical scenarios. Along with the scenario, we'll also see what could be a possible good choice. Right? Not just the scenario, but if that scenario is there in the exam, how would you answer it? Right. So let us see one scenario. Stakeholders define the project success differently. We discussed, right? For me, the success of construction of the project is delivering the building itself. For somebody else, the success is when somebody actually start using the building well, living in the building well, they are using that product well. So just delivery of the product might not be the success. The usage of that product is also important. Right? I'll give you a simple example. We have this bottle. Right? Let us say that we have a project to complete this, construct this, manufacture this, whatever it is, build this bottle. Right? I manufacture this bottle and I deliver it, but nobody is drinking from this bottle. So for one person, the success criteria was we just want to deliver this bottle. For another person, the success criteria was no, if we are delivering the bottle, then somebody should be able to use it. And whether they are using it or not is also a part of our success criteria. Right? So there could be differences in what success really looks like. Okay. And when you see that as a scenario, what would you do? Typically, whenever you see any conflict, any difference of opinion, anything which is different, try to bring those people for a discussion and resolve that ambiguity, the difference, whatever it is. Okay, so you should facilitate the alignment. Right? For this task, they will talk about vision. For conflict task, which we are going to see next, they'll talk about conflict. For some other task, they could talk about something else. But ultimately, what is this that they're testing? They are saying that there are two people in the project, two groups of people in the project who look at the same thing differently. If that happens, bring them together, discuss with them, and build the alignment. Very simple. There's no hard and fast in this. As a project manager, I will not give the solution. As a project manager, I will not tell them what the alignment is like. As a project manager, I will not tell them what the success is like. Right? My job is not to resolve the problem. It sounds a little bit contradicting, but my job is not to resolve the problem. My job as a project manager is to help them understand how to resolve the problem, help them resolve the problem. Team should be resolving the problems. I should be helping them. Okay, here we are not talking about problems, we are talking about the understanding of success as different. So they'll give you 2-3 sentences in the question, right? Midway through the project, this has happened, and you have noticed that stakeholders do not understand success, or somebody says this is the success, somebody says something else is the success. What should the project manager do? The project manager should facilitate the alignment, bring both of them together, and ensure that they have a clear understanding of whatever they are understanding differently. Right? Team members interpret the work differently. Same thing. See, whether it is stakeholder or team members, right? If you have understood that they are looking at the same thing differently, what should you do? You should identify the root cause and restore the shared understanding. Right? So what should the project manager do? Project manager should facilitate the alignment. How would the project manager resolve this problem? By identifying the root cause and restoring the understanding. Customer feedback challenges the original vision. So customer gave you some feedback, customer wanted something extra, customer is wanting to make some changes, right? It could either be new thing, it could be some complaint, or it could be something that they are not happy with, right? So if the customer is providing a feedback which tells you that, okay, whatever we are thinking about the project does not hold true, what would you do in that case? In that case, review the evidence, reassess the vision with relevant stakeholders. Right? So if customer is making any changes or asking for making any changes and it does not align with the vision, bring the stakeholders together, relevant stakeholders, discuss and reassess the vision. If the vision needs to be modified, do that. If the understanding needs to be modified, do that. But do all those things with discussions. Okay. So typically in the exam, this is what you are going to see. Somebody understand the success differently, somebody understand the work differently, or whatever our original vision was challenged by the customer. Challenged by the customer does not mean that they will challenge it. They will tell you something which will not hold the vision true, or they will tell you something that I want to add something which might change the vision of the project. If that happens, your job is to discuss, understand the root cause, review all the evidence and the facts, and reassess, change the vision if it may be needed. Okay. Every single time, whenever you see such questions, what should you think? How should you answer the question? right? See, your mindset is to establish shared understanding before any detailed planning or execution. Keep this in mind. You will not be planning who will do it, how it will be done, which equipment will be used, which technique will be used. You will not do all those things unless and until you have a shared understanding of the vision. You have an understanding of why we are doing. First, we understand that, then we decide how we are going to do it. In PMP certification also, if you're preparing for PMP certification, first you should know why you are doing that. Is it for a job change? Is it for a promotion? Is it because you want to manage projects better? Because that will decide how you want to do it. Right? Let's assume that it's appraisal time in April. Currently, we are in February. Right? Let's assume that. And you think that a PMP certification will help you in getting the promotion. Right? So if you are clear with your why, isn't it very easy to decide when you should take the exam? If your appraisal discussion will happen in April, you must get PMP certified before April. So your how will be decided based on your why. Otherwise, if you want to just improve your project management and that's why you want to get PMP certified, you have a lot more time. You will spend more time understanding project management. You will spend more time applying those things in your project. Even if it takes 6 to 9 months, it is completely fine. But here, because your promotion is at stake, you would want to do it in 2 months. Somebody who does not have a currently is not working, they want a job, they should be able to do it fastest. Probably they have only 1 month in which they should study and get things done. Right? So what I'm trying to say here is that whenever you are doing PMP certification is also a project, your personal project, right? So whenever you are managing a project, try to understand the why first. It helps in building the best possible practices that will help you in achieving that. Right? Second, develop the vision collaboratively with key stakeholders. Any question, any option that is talking about management providing the vision to the team, project manager providing the vision to the team is a wrong choice. Right? Vision is developed collaboratively. People should come together, relevant stakeholders, key stakeholders should come together and discuss what would be the vision. If you just inform the vision, they will understand it, but they might not follow it. But if you involve people in defining the vision, they will remember it for long and they will be able to follow it. Right? So the mindset here is involve over inform. Just informing sends the message. Involving people and discussing helps it in uh, following of the vision as well. Right. Look beyond the deliverables. Benefits, value, and intended result is important. Our job is not to just deliver the bottle. Our job is also to ensure that the bottle is so good that people are willing to use it. People are willing to drink water from it. Right? That's the idea. We should think about the outcome more than the output. Next, whenever there's a misunderstanding between two people, first find the root cause, then find the solution. Okay? Discuss, try to understand why the misunderstanding happened, only then solve. Don't jump to conclusion. Okay? Reinforce the vision regularly and revisit when conditions change. See, again, just informing the vision once or sharing it once through email is not enough. You will have to reinforce the vision regularly. Only then people will be able to understand and remember it for longer. Right? If you don't believe in me, think about your company's vision and mission. Do you remember it? What is your organization's vision? What is your organization's mission? Are those important? Yes. Should you work towards that? Yes. But do you remember that? You will remember it only if you were involved in it. You will remember it only if it was discussed with you regularly. If your company is not discussing that with you, you will not remember it. Same thing happens with the project. If you stop discussing as a project manager the vision with your team members, your team will not remember it. So will be very difficult to pull everybody in the same direction. Okay, so that was about developing a common vision. Establish the shared understanding, Do it collaboratively. Look beyond just the result, just the deliverables. Look for benefits, values, and intended result as well. If there's a misunderstanding, find the root cause, then take action. Reinforce the vision regularly, because just informing once is not enough. Nobody will remember, everybody will forget. Okay. Any option in the exam that talks about this is typically a good choice. I cannot say it will always be the best, because you will have four choices, right? Out of these four choices, you will have to compare and decide which one is better. So I cannot tell you that this will always be correct, but these are good choices. If you see this, you should feel comfortable that yes, this could be the correct choice. Okay, that was about developing a common vision, the first task. Any question in this, anyone? Anything in mind? Before we move to the next task?
Can I add something, Amit?
Yeah, perfect. Let's move to the, yeah, go ahead, please.
Yes. In number 3, value and result. As BM Book 8 edition, it changes the definition of project. That means initiative in the context to create value.
Yes.
As my practice, this if we categorize 3 responsibilities of from my side as civil engineer, I will build infrastructure.
Yeah.
As the owner, that one, he is responsible to create this initiative. For example, the Ministry of Health need to build a hospital. This is the entity.
Right.
The second part is the contractor. He need take this contract to build this hospital.
Okay.
Number 3, the consultant.
Okay.
Who will supervision the work of contractor.
Okay.
Anyone looking for this hospital from his side.
Right.
The owner or the Ministry of Health looking to, after finish this hospital, to make medicine for the people.
Right.
Here's the value. Here's the result.
We should always think from the project team's perspective. Okay. Those who are working on the project, right? And the value should be delivered by the product or the service that we are delivering. Right? So you should always think of the user who is going to use that product. How is it valuable for them? Okay. The stakeholders, like you talked about, the ministry, the consultants, the contractors, how is it helpful for them? The team, how is it helpful for them? The product manager, how is it helpful for them? Right. So value will be different for different stakeholders. And as a product manager, we should ensure that everybody achieves that value. Right. So for organization, it could be to make profit. For contractors, it would be to show to the world that yes, we are also a brand. It's about the reputation for them.
Yes.
For ministry, it could be something else, right? So value will have a different meaning for different stakeholders. Our job is to ensure that through our work, we should be able to help them achieve those values. It will never be one. It will be completely different for different stakeholders. What you're saying is absolutely correct.
Here, I need to say that the definition of project in this 8th edition, I think, is not completed. I need extra word to explain, like you say now.
See, typically what happens is that definitions are decided based on the feedbacks and other things, and then definition can never give a complete meaning. Right? Definitions generally give you the first initial understanding of it. Right? Then you go to the description of it, then you go to the detail of it, and then you have build a complete meaning of it. Right? Definitions are generally in one sentence. It will never give you complete meaning, but it has a good starting point. So always think of definitions as a good starting point, after which you need to dive into the detail of it. Okay. And that's why you will see that, and you'll think about any definition and you'll feel the same, right? That it is not complete. Okay. Perfect. Let's move ahead. Okay. So now we will talk about the task manage conflict, right? Same thing. We will be discussing what
Sorry
that.
sorry for my interrupting.
No,
But
please.
but I study before this eighth edition. I studied sixth edition, and I have comment about this task manage conflict. Why BMI in priority of the task put it this first? Still now we are not build our team. We are not collaborate with them. Why you jump into conflict direct?
Correct. See, PMI has not, I don't know the reason, but PMI has not given the tasks in sequence. I'll tell you why. Okay. Because what happens is that, let us say that you are starting the project. Okay. This is the very first day of the project and you are deciding a meeting room.
Okay.
Okay. Your management, your boss says that, okay, we have only 4 or 5 people. So we can meet at our desk itself. Okay. Wherever we are working, we can meet there itself and we can discuss about the project. Let's start that because there are only 3 to 4 people. Right. You are saying that this will not be good. The meeting should be professional. We need white space. We need whiteboard. We need something to work around because this is the first meeting. It should be good. It should be very helpful. So we should do that in a meeting room. Okay. So there are 2 things. Your boss is saying we can do it at work desk because there are 3 to 4 people. You are saying we should do in a meeting room because it needs to have a deeper discussion. Right? Who is right in this case? Nobody. Right? Both have their own point of view and both are helpful in the project. Ultimately, you will both discuss and then you will decide. Project has not even started. The first meeting has also not happened. But do you need to manage conflict? Yes. Isn't it? Right? So it's not that first you will assemble the team, then the team will start fighting, then we will manage the conflict. Conflicts can happen at any point of time, right? That is why PMI says, and it's very clear, that we will not provide you the sequence of activities. Okay. We will tell you generally good practices. They don't even say that these are best practices. Okay. These are generally good practices, which means if you do it this way, you will be able to manage conflict whenever it happens. Right? If you do it this way, you will be able to develop a common vision. Developing a common vision is important. You should do it. When should you do it? How often should you do it? We have told you. Right? But then you decide how are you going to manage the project. Right? So you see the first definition of project, right? Every project is unique. So when will the conflict happen? When will I need to lead the team? When will I need to support the team performance? When will I need to align the expectations? It can happen at any point of time. Right? So what you should think of as the PMP exam or the exam content outline is that yes, these are my 26 responsibilities. As a project manager, I should know how to ensure these responsibilities. What will I do? When will I do it? I should be able to decide in my project by discussing with the team. You get the point that we don't need to wait for the team and the management and the scope to be there for the conflict to happen. Conflict can happen at any point of time. And you will need the responsibility of managing that conflict at that point of time. Right? So it is not always sequential. Yes, process can be sequential. Without understanding the scope, you cannot build the schedule. Very clear. Without understanding the scope, you cannot create the budget. Very clear. Without understanding the activities, you cannot understand the risks involved. That is also clear, right? So processes can be sequential, but people domain generally not sequential. Okay. In fact, if you look at ECO, process domain is also not sequential, but that's the reason because some projects happen this way, some projects happen that way. So they have refrained from saying that, okay, this is what you should follow. So they don't give you the prescription. They just tell you that there are 26 responsibilities which you should be aware of. And then you decide the sequence. Okay. Now, this was a very important discussion, Abdullah. Thank you so much for that, because this would be a doubt in many people's mind. Probably they're not asking, probably they were thinking about it, but it is important to first understand why it is not in sequence. Second is that the mindset should be very clear that project management, PMP, is a leadership certification. Okay, we are expected to lead, not to follow. If they tell you that do this, then do this, then do this, then do this, then what are you doing? You are following it. You are not leading. What are they saying? They are saying, okay, 1 is there, 2 is there, 3 is there, 4 is there. You decide the sequence. You lead it for the project success. What are we telling you? That you should focus on the vision. You should be able to manage conflict. You should be able to lead the team. You should be able to engage stakeholders. These are your responsibilities. Whenever the situation arises, you should be able to do that. That is why you see exam also ask you on situational questions only. They don't ask you which task should happen first, which task should happen later. They give you a situation. In this situation, do you know what your responsibility is, and will you be able to handle that situation? That's what they test you throughout the exam. Okay? I'm clear? I mean,
I agree with you, but not full 100%. We will discuss later.
Okay.
Thank you.
So now we'll talk about managing conflict. Okay. Again, we are talking about 3 domains: people domain, 8 tasks. First, we have discussed. Now we'll talk about managing conflict. What is conflict? Conflict is just a difference in opinion, or it could be any disagreement. Difference in opinion means I want to do it through A, somebody wants to do it through B. I want all the ECO tasks to be in sequence. Somebody says, okay, don't put it in sequence. It's a difference of opinion. When I don't agree with this, then it's a disagreement. When the other person doesn't agree with this, it's a disagreement, right? So how do you manage conflict? By identifying these difference in opinion and disagreements, understanding why it happened, and as a project manager, helping the involved parties reach a constructive resolution that supports the team relationships and project outcomes. So every time you decide on a solution, on how do we handle the conflict, the solution should help the project. Okay, so it is always decided based on the project outcome. So conflict management is understanding the conflict, understanding why it happened, involving people, finding out a solution that is helpful for team and the project. Right? Why is it important? Because if you have difference in opinion, you cannot move towards the same vision. You cannot work in the project. You have to finalize. Right? I'm saying that we will use Microsoft Project as a software. Somebody is saying we'll use Jira. Somebody is saying we'll use Excel sheet. Somebody is saying we'll not use anything. Right? We need to resolve this. Otherwise, how will we work? So managing conflict is definitely important. It helps in preventing the disagreement from disrupting the project work. See, disagreement in itself is not bad. Difference in opinion, having differences in opinion in project is not bad. But it should not disrupt the work itself. Right? So you should be able to manage those disagreements. You should be able to manage those conflicts well. Also, conflict management protects the trust and relationship within the team. Right? When you sit together, when you sit across the table, try to understand why you are seeing this way, why somebody else is seeing something that way, right? Then the trust builds and the relationship within the team also gets built. It also encourages open discussion of different perspectives. Right? People know that yes, we have different perspectives, but we are very open about it. Then it improves the problem solving and decision making. Whenever you are able to discuss among the team members, whenever you are trying to present your point of view, it always helps in problem solving, because problems cannot be solved by one person alone. It should always be solved by collaborating, discussing, and then solving it. Right? It also helps in maintaining the collaboration towards project objectives. How should we do that? What should the project manager do? Identify the conflicts first. Right? You should be able to see that yes, people are not behaving well, people are having difference of opinion, people are having disagreement. You should be able to assess the environment and identify the conflicts. Then analyze the context. What is the source of conflict? Why did this happen? Facilitate the discussions. Call the team members who are having conflicts. Discuss why they are saying whatever they are saying. Ask them to bring facts, discuss those facts, and resolve the conflicts. Agree on a resolution, implement, and follow up whether they have implemented the resolution that was discussed or not. Understand the conflict, analyze why it happened, discuss with the team, decide the solution, implement it.
Analyze this root cause analysis.
Yeah, context would help you in that. So once you understand the context, once you start having a discussion, you will be able to find out a resolution. So what are some of the typical scenarios that you might see in the exam? Okay. One question might say that two team members are disagreeing over the best technical solution. One person is saying we should do it this way, other person is saying we should do that way. What will you do? You will facilitate a direct discussion. Call both the team members together. Ask them, okay, why do you think this is better? Other person, why do you think this is better? Let them collaborate, let them discuss and find a solution. So any option that is saying that facilitate the discussion, call a meeting, discuss among both the team members, that would be a better choice. Another scenario, conflict arises because responsibilities are unclear. So you know that there's a conflict and you also know the cause of the conflict. What will you do? You will review the agreed roles with the team. You will look at the documents. What does it say? What are the roles and responsibilities? Then again, clarify it collaboratively. Right? So once you know the problem, understand why it happened, solve it. A team member repeatedly. Yeah, sorry, please go ahead.
For number 2, you go to the team matrix.
Yeah, absolutely. Then point 3, a team member repeatedly violates an agreed ground rule. So ground rule was discussed. Now the team member has repeatedly violated that. That's what the situation is. What will you do? You will discuss with them first privately. Promptly, of course, you should not delay because it is a repeat violence. So discussed immediately, privately, discuss the agreement, whatever the ground rule was, and decide what should be the corrective action. Right? In PMP exam questions, you will not be required regularly to provide the solution. They will typically ask you, what will you do? How will you solve it? Right? So what will you do? If you see that somebody is repeatedly violating a rule, discuss with them, show them what the agreement is, and then together find out what should be the corrective action. No decision is to be taken here. That we'll fire them, will not fire them, nothing like that. Yes, there is a repeat violation. We can take some harsh step also, but PMI is not looking for that. PMI is looking for understanding what would you do? What would be your approach towards that? They are not looking for whether you can find a solution or not, whether will you fire them or not. They are trying to understand what will be your approach towards it. So if somebody is repeatedly violating it, your approach would be to discuss with them, understand and reinforce the agreement and define corrective action. If you see that conflicts are arising because responsibilities are unclear, your approach would be to review the roles and then decide collaboratively. If you see two members are disagreeing about something, have a meeting among them and find a solution. That would be your approach. What would be the solution is different. What would be your approach? That will be tested in the exam. How would you answer the questions? Mindset is address the conflict early as possible. Okay, because conflicts escalate very, very quickly. Right? So you should be able to address the conflicts early. Second, you don't need to immediately resolve the conflict. First, understand the source, the context, the interest. Basically, try to understand why the conflict happened first. Look for a solution that gains commitment from the parties. As a project manager, you should not provide the solution without discussing with the conflicting parties. Even if you think this is correct, don't do that. Discuss with them, tell them this is what I'm thinking. What do you guys think? Agree together collaboratively and then decide. Right? Facilitate and ensure people participate in developing the resolution. Participation is very, very important. Whenever you are planning, solving problem, resolving, you should facilitate. In this case also, if there's a conflict, you must involve relevant people. Not everybody needs to be involved. Relevant people in developing the resolution. The last one, there would be some choices where they would say that escalate to sponsor. It is not generally the first step. Okay, you would escalate only when matter involves ethics, safety, policy, or it exceeds your authority. The question must clearly say that PMI project manager has done everything, and now still it is not happening. Still they're not able to solve the conflict. Then you will escalate. Okay, so escalation is generally the last resort in the project. Keep these things in mind, and it will help you in solving questions related to conflict. Any questions, anyone? Yes, Mansi, please go ahead.
Uh, Amit, I have just one scenario-based question. Like, if in a team, if some deadline, in that deadline, one team member is taking leave simultaneously. So we will first discuss with the team member, and we will give the, we will show them, we will show the policy of company, and so after that, shall we give an ultimatum, or how should we go?
If they are repeatedly doing it and you think that they are deliberately doing it, despite you telling them that this is the policy, this is impacting the project, then you can take some harsh decisions also. Okay. But
Okay.
more important would be to understand why they are doing it.
Hmm.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, yes, it is possible to take harsh decision, especially if it is repetitive and deliberate, that you have told them and they're deliberately doing it. Right?
Hmm.
So you can take some harsh decisions also. But what is important to know is why are they doing it? What is the main reason behind it? And it will not happen just by asking that, okay, tell me why you're doing it.
Hmm.
Right? You will have to understand it. You will have to connect with that person. You will have to connect with them, understand the challenges that they're facing probably personally, understand them as a person. Right? They might not be willing to talk. They might not be willing to share their personal things. So you'll have to understand really what is happening and then see if you can help. Okay. And if your help is helping resolve the problem, then it's fine. Otherwise, as I said, right, that if it says that, okay, no, you have tried everything and they're deliberately doing it, they want to do it, you can take some harsh decisions also.
Okay.
It's rare. Harsh decisions are rare,
Hmm.
but you can take it. In the PMP exam, mostly you will see this is what is happening. That you're
Okay.
discussing with them and trying to understand why it is happening.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
No problems. Any other question? Anyone? Okay. If not, then what should you do now? You should go to the PMP mock exam package that you have on our website and try to solve 10 questions from task 1, task 2. 10 questions from task 1 will take you around 10, 12 minutes. 10 questions from task 2 will take another 10, 12 minutes. So in 20, 25 minutes, you will be able to solve this. Try to review those as well. Look at the solution, try to understand why this happened, and note down your doubts. When we meet tomorrow to discuss task 3 and 4, before that, we will discuss your doubts. Okay, I'll very quickly show you where it is so that it is easier for you to understand. Just a second. Right. So when you go to our platform, you will see the courses that you have. Right. Under my enrollment, you will be able to see it. And then you go to, you clicked on the PMP mock exam, right? Here you will have first mini mocks, and then you have task-wise questions. Go to people domain. You will see first task, develop a common vision on the right-hand side. Everybody, you are able to see the screen, right?
Yes.
Yep. On the right-hand side, you see the task 1 and then task 2. Click on that, go to the task, complete it. Okay. There will be more questions also, but try to complete 10 questions because you don't have to do 50 questions, 60 questions. Try to do 10, 10 from this, 10 from that. Look at the solutions of those 10 questions. Write down your doubts. Let's connect tomorrow. Discuss those doubts first, and then we'll talk about the task 3 and task 4. Okay. If it is expired, then you will have to renew it. But if you think that no, it should not have expired, it is showing expired, please let me know. I'll check for it. And if it is not supposed to expire, then I'll extend the access. Yes, Venkatesh, you're saying something, please.
Amit, in previous people domain is 14 tasks, right? So now it
Yeah,
is
yeah,
8.
exam has changed.
So now it is 8 only.
Yes. So now there are 8 in people domain, 10 in process domain, and 8 in business domain. So instead of 35 tasks, there will be only 26 tasks. They
Good
have
for us.
consolidated the responsibilities.
Okay. So where will get this PPT for this? What you have shown today, no?
Yeah, the PPT and the reading materials will be shared on WhatsApp. Okay, and I will attach it to this mock exam as well.
Yeah, yeah. Please. Thank you.
No problems. Any other question, anyone?
Uh, Amit,
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
I think I don't have the access to this uh, mock exam.
Yes, because you are supposed to start from 8th. Okay, I'll add that.
Okay, okay.
Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. Tomorrow we'll be discussing the another 2 tasks, and we'll cover the people domain. Then we'll go to process and business. Thank you so much. All right, so welcome to the third day of our discussion. We'll be talking about task 3, where we'll discuss the lead the project team task. We'll understand what the responsibilities are. We'll also discuss what are the type of questions, scenarios that you might see in the exam. And we'll discuss the mindset which will help you in answering the question from this particular task. So, the way we are trying to do it is we'll be covering all the 3 domains: people, process, and business. Right now, we are discussing the people domain. So, people domain has 8 tasks. Right. We have covered develop a common vision. We have also covered manage conflicts. Now we will be talking about lead the project team. Just like all the tasks, first we'll have a task intro, which means we'll try to understand what is that task, why is it important. Then we will discuss the essential actions, basically the task, the activities that a project manager must do in order to meet this responsibility. Then we'll also see 3 scenarios, 3 typical scenarios, recurring patterns in the exam, which will help you understand what are the ways in which the questions are framed. And then we will discuss the exam mindset, where we'll discuss 5 tips that will help you in answering questions from this particular task. Okay, just like all the other tasks, we'll be covering in the same fashion. Right. So, what is leadership all about? Okay. Whenever you think about project management, as a project manager, you are leading the team, right? So, leading the team basically means that we are setting up an environment for the team, okay, where they are very easy in collaborating, in discussing the problems, in discussing their weakness, right? So we have created a very collaborative environment where people can come together, they can discuss, they can make decisions, they can solve problems, and ultimately delivering the project outcomes effectively, right? That's what leadership is. Keep this in mind because this is the definition that will help you in answering the questions in the exam. It's about creating the conditions in which the team members can collaborate, make decisions, solve problems, and ultimately deliver the project outcomes effectively. So keep this in mind. As a project manager, you have to create the environment where team members are collaborating. Right? If you think that I have shared the plan, I have shared the document, and they are supposed to follow, why are they not following? It's not going to happen, right? It never happens. You were also a junior at a point of time. If somebody just handed over the process to you, which you don't understand, which you don't believe in, which you have doubts on, where you have a question, why this, why not that? How would you follow that? Right? So, as a leader, you have to get involved, build that environment where people want to discuss together and work. Okay, that's what the role of a leader is. That's what the leadership is all about. Right? Now, why is leadership important? I don't think I need to explain it to all of you. You all are so experienced. You all are preparing for PMP, which means you already have experience. You know what leadership is. But thinking from the exam perspective, thinking from the project management perspective, think of this as a reminder that I'm serving to you. Okay. So leadership is important because it creates clarity and accountability. When we say accountability, we are saying that collectively the whole team feels accountable, right? So we are talking about collective accountability. Responsibilities could be individual. I will do this. I will be working on plan. Somebody will be working on budget. Somebody will be working on risk. Somebody will be working on quality. Right? Individually, responsibilities could be different. I could be developing. Somebody could be testing. Somebody could be integrating. One person will be the product owner. Somebody will be the product manager. Right? So individually, responsibilities could be different. Ultimately, everybody in the project should think that yes, I am accountable for the success or failure of the project. Right? So if I see that somebody is struggling, even if they don't report to me, I would try to help them. If I see that somebody is making mistakes, but they are not very open about sharing it, right? I would try to help them in sharing that. So my job as a project manager is to build that collective accountability. Right? That's what leadership helps in. And collective accountability would go a long way in making projects successful. Right? Why else is this important? Because when you lead team properly, when you empower them, when you help them, when there's a collective accountability, the decision also improves. All the decisions that will happen in the project would become better if it is a participatory decision making. Participatory decision making means people are participating, discussing the situation, understanding the impact, finding out the root cause together, and then finalizing what should be the decision. Now, if you have 20 team members, not every problem should be solved by 20 members, right? But the point is that all those relevant people, all those relevant members, key stakeholders who can help in this discussion should be present, should be participating, and then we should take a decision. No decision should be taken alone by project manager. No decision should be taken by the sponsor also. It doesn't matter who the sponsor is, doesn't matter who the management is, doesn't matter who the project manager is. If it is a decision related project, key members should come together in a very democratic way. Voting can happen, discussions can happen, deliberations can happen, and then finally everybody should be okay with that decision. And that decision is always a better decision in the project. Then it also strengthens collaboration. If you lead your team well, the team will collaborate among themselves better. They will not always seek your help, they will not always come to you, right? So it strengthens collaboration. Then it also uses the team's full potential. See, your team would be a diverse set of people coming from different background, different city, different state, different country, different industry also, sometimes different organization for sure if they are coming from different organization, right? So people have different experience, people have different understanding, and when all these diverse set of people come together and they start discussing, what happens is the other person will realize, oh, I did not think about that. Oh yeah, this is a good point of view, right? So there would be different point of views coming together, and then you are taking a decision, or then you are working in the project, you would be able to unlock your team's full potential. Leadership also helps in sustaining the motivation and performance of your team. See, in the beginning of the project, everybody is motivated. As soon as you hit the first problem, the little bit of motivation goes down. The minute a customer escalates something, motivation even down. Minute you see that you are not getting support from management, motivation down. Right? What happens is within 3 to 6 months, people are just managing the project. Okay, I'm there. I have to take the salary. I have been given this project. I'll do it. You don't want such kind of environment, such kind of attitude in your project. Right? You want people to be motivated. You want people to be excited about the work, and for that you will have to put in efforts. You cannot be sitting in the cabin and imagine that okay, on the construction site everybody is working properly. It will not happen, right? Somebody as a project manager is thinking that okay, I have shared something and people will stay motivated throughout the year. It's not going to happen, right? Leadership needs involvement, leadership needs intervention. So you as a leader would need to regularly talk to your team, understand the situation, look at the project, what is happening, discuss, deliberate, take decisions, and keep the team members aware of why we are doing the project. We were talking about in our first task about the vision, right? It helps in keeping your team motivated for long duration. And that's what you want in the project. Okay. So why is leadership important? Leadership is important because it creates clarity and accountability. It helps in improving decision making because everybody comes together, they share their experience, better decisions are taken. It strengthens collaboration because when you lead, when you're involved, people think that, okay, involvement is a good way, they also get involved. You will be able to unlock your team's full potential and you will be able to sustain the motivation. That's why leadership is important, right? If you see here, I'm not talking about leadership styles. I'm not talking about different type of leadership here because this is exam focused. Exam is it may ask, but it will ask you probably one question about leadership styles. But why leadership is important? If you understand this, you will be able to solve 20 questions in the exam. Right? That's how important these sessions are. Okay. Sometimes what happens is if you are an engineer, if you are focused on technical aspects of project management a lot, you always think of process, sequence, activities. Give me this, give me a flow chart. Right? Project management does not work like that. And nobody can give you a flow chart and say, okay, this is the flow chart, follow these sequence of activities, and you will be successful in the project. It does not happen, right? It needs regular involvement, regular tweaking of things, regular changes, and then you manage the project. Okay. So when you are answering the questions in the PMP exam, understanding why this task is there. There are 26 tasks, right? So there would be a reason why they have selected it. How does it help in project management? If you understand that well, you will be able to solve more questions correctly. That's why we are discussing this. Okay. Then comes the part of what should be done. Right. What should be done by the PM? Because PMP is an exam of project managers. So what should the project manager do? In order to lead, the project manager needs to establish expectations and responsibilities. The project manager needs to empower the team regularly. The project manager should facilitate problem solving. Project manager should not provide the solution. Right? Even if you know the solution, do not provide it because if you provide the solution once, team will think the project manager will continue to provide solutions. They will become dependent on you. Right? You don't want that. You want your team to develop their own problem solving skills. And hence you facilitate problem solving. And hence you empower the team. You don't take the decision. The team collectively takes decision. Okay. Also support and represent the team. Obviously, you are the leader, you would be supporting and representing the team, and adapt the leadership style based on your team members' skills, based on your team members' commitment. You should tailor your leadership style based on different situation. Different situation demands different type of leadership. If there's a problem happening which has been escalated, you need to become a manager. You need to solve the problem immediately. If you see that the same problem is happening multiple times, you have to become a leader then. Think about the sustainability of this. Why this is happening multiple times? How can we prevent it? If you think the team is down in motivation, you have to become a leader. If you think the team is deliberately not working, you have to become a manager. Right? So leadership also is completely different, dependent on different situations. So you should be able to understand the situation. You should be able to tailor your leadership style accordingly. Okay. So as a project manager, whenever you are leading the team, set the expectations, responsibilities that is definitely needed, empower the team, create that culture. Whenever they face a problem, bring relevant people together, facilitate that problem solving, discuss, let them understand how they should solve the problem. Support them, represent them, and keep adapting your leadership style depending on different situation, different stage of the project. Right? This is what the project manager should do. Now let us see three scenarios. What I'll do is in every slide, there would be a scenario. First, we'll discuss the scenario, right? Then we will discuss what should be done. What are the general things to be done? Okay, good things, good practices to be done. And then we will discuss what should we not do. From my experience, understanding what we should not do is easier and is more helpful in the exam. If you are solving question and there are four choices, and if you can eliminate two choices, saying, okay, this is definitely what we should not do, half of your job is done. After that, you just need to compare and see which one is better. So understanding what are good choices is definitely important. Understanding what are bad choices is also important. It makes your life easy and it is easier to understand. See, good things are multiple, right? And I always say this, that for an option to be correct, it needs to be correct from different angles. Everything should be correct. The responsibility, the stage, the action, everything should be correct. But for an option to be incorrect, you just need to find one mistake. The role is not assigned properly, something is not happening as per the rules or expectations, eliminate it. Right? So always look at good and bad, both type of practice, and always think of that. Always prepare in that fashion. So that's what we are going to do, right? So let us discuss this scenario. An experienced team asks the project manager to approve routine technical decisions or tell them exactly how to perform the work. Right? Either you approve routine technical decisions or tell us how to perform the work. That's the situation. Okay, it could be anything. You are managing a project, a project manager is managing a construction project or a software project, something this is that. In the question, there could be one more sentence, but ultimately the gist of it would be this: that this experienced team, yet they're asking the project manager to approve something which is routine and telling them how to perform the work. If you see such situation, right, where the team is asking for approval on routine things or they're asking how should the team work, the general good choices would be that you select that choice which talks about clarifying decision boundaries. See, the point is that if it is a routine technical decision, why should the project manager get involved? There's no reason. Right? Team can come together, collaborate, discuss among themselves, and they should be able to solve it. Project manager should be there, helping them. Right? But they don't need to approve every single routine technical decisions. Right? So it could be worded anyway, but if it suggests that it's a regular work, you don't need approval for regular work. You don't need approval for regular decisions also. Right? Especially, it may happen in your organization that every decision is taken by the management, every decision is taken by the leader of the team. It may happen, but that's not the right way. Okay, the right way is to let the team discuss and decide because they are technically superior. They do all the work regularly and not one person, but when they all come together, they are always better than the project manager. Right? The entire team put together will always be better technically taking decisions better than the project manager. And hence, as a project manager, you need to understand that your job is to help them. If they start fighting among themselves, then you resolve that conflict. If they're not motivated, you develop a common vision. If they're not working properly, you lead them. Right? We have seen three responsibilities. So your job is these responsibilities. The team should come together and take decisions. Okay. So your job is to empower the team. Your job is to clarify the decision boundaries. So any option that you see in such situation and the option says clarifying the decision boundary is a correct choice. What should you not do? Avoid making every decision personally. Right? We have been discussing this repetitively. If a project manager takes a decision, the team does not learn how to solve problems. If your kid comes to you and asks you what is 2 plus 2, right? You don't tell them 4. You tell them that you have 2 chocolates, your friend has 2 chocolates, the friend has given it to you. How many do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4. You help them learn how to solve problem. If you solve the problem, 2 plus 2 is 4. When it is 2 plus 3, when it is 2 plus 5, they'll always come to you. They'll become dependent on you for solution. Same thing will happen with team. If your team has a problem and you give the solution, they'll become dependent on you. And you don't want that in the project because how many problems can you solve alone in the project? Right? So to avoid making every decision personally, avoid assigning detailed instructions or escalating routine decisions to the sponsor. You don't need to have detailed instruction, do it this way exactly. Let the team come together, figure out, use their experience and do the work. Right? That level of freedom is important. That does not mean that everything will be done by the team on their own. It only means that we are empowering the team so that they can take decisions, they can decide what is to be done. And yes, there would be some mistakes, but they should be able to learn from that. Right? So those options which talk about clarifying decision boundaries and empowering the team will be better. Those options which suggest that project manager has taken the decision, or they have provided an instruction, directed the team on what to do, or they have escalated, even if it is an execution related work, those would be not a good choice. Okay. Now, scenario number 2. Right. Activities are being duplicated or missed because team members do not understand their responsibilities or decision authority. Right? So something is happening because of something. So we know the problem, we know the reason behind this. What should we do? As a project manager, we'll bring the team members together, have a discussion, and clarify whatever is not clear. It's very simple. The only difficult thing is that you will be solving 180 questions back to back. Okay. And the situations would be worded very differently. Otherwise, if I ask you here, would you do that? You will say yes. If the team is not clear, I'll clarify them. It's very simple. But the same thing becomes a little bit difficult when you're sitting in the exam. When you have solved 60 questions, this is the 61st question, and then your mind is not working and you are finding it very difficult. But the point is that if something is not clear, I'll call those people, we'll discuss with them, and we'll clarify whatever is need to be clear: expectations, roles, responsibilities, accountability. And one more thing, right? Just the discussion might not be enough. If there are certain documents to be stored, updated, revised, we will do that as well. So update the team charter, update the responsibility assignment matrix, or any other relevant agreement. Right? So discuss with them, clarify the responsibilities, and update the document as well. Make it accessible also, so that people are able to see that if they have any confusion. What you should not do: absolutely avoid immediately blaming anybody. Okay, project managers don't fall for blame game. Keep this in mind. If there's a problem, we have to solve the process. We have to solve the situation, not the person. It is possible that the person is deliberately doing it, right? But we will need to verify that first. Only then we will take those actions. Okay. So replacing someone, escalating it to somebody else would happen later. First, let us understand. Okay. Why are they not clear? Then discuss, clarify it, and then record it in a document. Right? As you can see, it's a very uh, common approach of solving this. If I find that my team is not clear on something, first I will try to understand why they are not clear on it. Then I'll discuss on how I can make them clear. I will not think of solutions sitting at my home or sitting in my cabin. I will discuss with the team and figure out together how we can build this clarity. And then whatever is needed to be recorded, we will record and we will update that. Okay, that's how you work as a leader. Then scenario number 3, the team encounters a difficult problem, or an external stakeholder imposes demands that could disrupt the team performance. So either some difficult problem has happened or some kind of disruption might happen because of external stakeholders. What would you do as a project manager? Right? As a project manager, you will try to understand the situation. Again, same thing, involve the team in evaluating the solutions, represent the team's concerns when engaging the key stakeholders. Right? The only thing changes here is that this is a big problem. It disrupts the team performance. It's a difficult problem. So I may need to talk to some other key stakeholders, some subject matter experts, my management also. Whenever I'm doing it, I'm representing the team. I'm not going alone, right? So that those choices, those options that you see in the exam that talks about understanding the situation, involving the team, representing the team, would always be better choices. What would you avoid in such situations? Avoid solving the problem on your own without consulting the team. In the option, they will not mention without consulting the team. If they mention it, you will automatically say, oh, this is wrong. They will only say that the project manager has provided the solution. Or they sometimes might say that because of the project manager experience in this field, they could provide the solution. And it will feel logical that yes, the project manager has experience and they have given the solution. But we have discussed it enough number of times that project manager should not. The leader's job is not to provide the solution. The leader's job is to help the team arrive at the solution. The leader's job is not to direct the team on what is to be done. The leader's job is to help them collaborate and then decide. So decision, problem solving, planning, everything should happen collectively. Your responsibility is to ensure that it happens. Okay, that collective accountability is very, very important. Right. So these were the scenarios. There could be many other scenarios also, but typically these are the scenarios that you will see in the exam. Right. If you see any other scenarios also, if you have the right mindset of the way you should think for the solving the question, it will help you. So let us see some mindset as well. Right. First, empower before directing. Don't tell the team members what is to be done. Empower them so that they can decide on their own. Second, facilitate instead of controlling. So you don't have to check and control, is this person having lunch for 2 hours? Is this person not writing the code? What is happening? You don't have to control the people. You have to facilitate. Facilitate means provide them the facilities, right? Help them, support them, call for a meeting, discuss with them, try to understand them. That is leadership. Okay, rather than controlling. Controlling is not good, directing is not good, empowering and facilitating are better. Then understand before taking action, right? If there is one thing that I will discuss in almost all the 26 tasks, this is it. Right? That you must understand the situation before taking any action. This looks very simple. This looks very easy to say. Yes, of course, we should do that. But in the exam, they'll give you a problem in the situation. They'll ask you what should the project manager do. One of it would be a solution to that problem. And you will say, okay, this is the problem. This is the solution. You'll put a tick to it. Well, that's not what they were asking. They were asking what should the project manager do, which means if they have given you a problem, one option is saying understand the problem. That is better. If that is missing, finding out the root cause could be the next step. If that is missing, maybe understanding the solution with the team is better. Right? Rather than implementing the solution. Implementing the solution or deciding a solution would be the last part. Okay, or we can say the later part, not the last. Understanding before taking any action. So any option that talks about understanding is better than any option where you are taking a decision, especially when the question is what should the product manager do. Okay, adapt leadership to the context, right? This will also be tested in the exam. So if they are saying that a team member is new, you may need to direct them. See this? Because the situation demands that. Generally, what should you do? You should empower. But if the team member is new, fresh out of college, you will have to tell them what is to be done. Right? So the context changes things, and it is rare. 90% of the time, this is what you will do. But out of 180 questions, there may be one question where the situation is that the member is junior and they are doing it for the first time. You may have to tell them what is to be done. You may have to direct them. Right? So it's possible, but rare. Right? Then support the team while maintaining accountability. Whenever you are supporting, ensure that you are not providing the solution. You are ensuring that the team is collectively accountable for the failure and the success of the project. Right? That's what the leadership mindset says. What does it mean? It means that any option that talks about empowerment would be better than directing if the situation specifically does not demand directing. Any option which talks about facilitation would be better than controlling. Any option that talks about understanding would be better than the decision. Any option that talks about decision. Right? If an option is something which is not related to what you learn and you think it might be correct, that is only because it is a reflection of the context given in the situation. So context demands you to change your leadership style, and you can do that. Right? Also, support the team, ensure that there is a collective accountability. Whenever you're thinking about leadership or answering people domain questions, always remember that you have to involve people, facilitate, and help them take decisions. Those options that talk about that are generally correct choices. Okay. So that was task number 3 from people domain, lead a team. Any question in this, anyone? Anything in mind? No? Okay. If not, then let's move to task number 4, which is to engage stakeholders. This is what we'll discuss today. That would be
May I, sir?
Sorry.
May I ask the question on this?
Yeah, of course. Why not?
Yeah. How to recognize in exam for a particular question talks about managerial cadre and leadership cadre?
See, typically, management related things would be short term. Okay. Which means there's a situation in hand, you are looking at that situation and you're thinking about that situation only. Right? For example, if somebody, let's say a kid is playing somewhere, right? And they accidentally cut their finger. Right? As a manager, and when you're applying your managerial skill, what will you do? You will apply a band-aid to it. Right? Because that problem needs to be solved immediately. And then you as a leader, what would you also do? You'd also see why did the kid got the access to the knife? Why was the knife placed there? And if the kid is playing, why was not some adult with the kid? Right? So you will try to prevent the problem also. Right? So a manager, when you're trying to think about managerial skills, it is short term. You're thinking about the situation, you're solving it properly as per the process. Okay. However, as a leader, you think of the long term. Right? How can we prevent this from happening? How can we make it sustainable? How can we ensure that everybody is thinking towards the vision of it? Right? Less options, less correct options would be about management. More correct option would be about leader, because in project specifically, you need to think about how the problem will not happen again. You need to think about how you can keep the team motivated throughout the project. You need to think about how whatever decisions are being taken sustainably, how everybody learns from it, right? So manager thinks about process, they think about solving problems, they think about short term. And there's nothing wrong in that. Right? If somebody's cut, you have to apply the bend, right? So there's nothing wrong in that. It is just that your approach towards that is different. Right? So when it's a short focused approach, it's managerial. When it is long term, thinking about future, thinking about bigger things, then it is about leader. That's how you understand in the exam. Okay. Yes, please.
When I compare the exam content, previous one,
Your voice is breaking.
now is good.
Still breaking. Continue. Please talk. And let me try to understand.
Yes, just for this task, not see the when we compare with previous ones that include define ground rules for the team, but here missing. I'm not seeing you mention that.
What is that?
Ground rule.
We did not talk about ground rule is what you're saying. See, ground rule is a way of leading. Right? You set a ground rule. There are multiple techniques, and we are not covering the techniques in this discussion. Okay, because if you have to finish something in 25-30 minutes, we are focusing completely on how would we solve the exam questions from this particular task. Okay, that is why you would see that I'm not talking about leadership style. I have not talking about leadership versus management. We have also not discussed about the ground rule. We have not discussed about virtual team. There are many things that we have not discussed because those are specifics important for the training. In the training, you would see all those things. Right. But here our focus is on how do we solve questions? What are the different type of questions that will be there? How do we build that mindset? And for a given particular task, what should be the activities which we can do? Right. And activities does not mean the entire set of activities. The top 3, 4, 5 activities which will help us in understanding the task better. Okay. That is why you have not seen all those things here. Right? Otherwise, leadership in itself is a 4 hour discussion, right? So we'll not be able to do that in this session. All right, moving ahead, task number 4. Here, we will talk about engaging stakeholders. Right? That's a task. That's my responsibility. As a project manager, my responsibility is to keep the stakeholders engaged throughout the project. Right? Same thing, people domain, task number 4. We'll discuss these 4 things: task intro, essential actions, typical scenarios, and exam mindset, just like we have done all the other tasks. Right? So the point here is that we are talking about engaged stakeholders. What do you mean by engagement? Not just communication, not just meeting, not just showing them report, all of these. Involving them in planning, involving them in problem solving. That's what stakeholder engagement is. Right? So engaging stakeholders means actively involving the people and groups who can influence the project or are affected by its outcome. Basically, actively involving the stakeholders. If they can get impacted by the project, we need to keep them involved. If they can impact my project, we need to keep them involved. That's what engaging stakeholders mean. That if I need approvals from the management, I need to keep them informed that I would need them approval today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, whenever it is going to happen. If I need support from a subject matter expert, I need to tell them that, hey, we are doing some legal work here. We may need your help. We need to keep the functional managers aware. We need to keep the suppliers aware. We need to keep the customers aware of the progress in the project. That is what engaging stakeholder means. Right? Actively involving people in the project. Why is it so important? Because you need help. Right? As a project manager, I need help from every nook and corner that I can get. Right? So engaging stakeholders improves the requirement and the decisions. Right? The more you meet the customers, the more clear will you be with the requirements. The more you meet the management, the more you meet the team members, more clear will you be with the decisions. Right? If you're thinking, why did I say team members? When we are talking about stakeholders, team members are also your stakeholders. Right? They also hold some stake. They will also get impacted by the project. They will also impact your project. Right? So it's not that team members are not the stakeholders. They are also stakeholders. It may happen that practically when you are working in the project, you call customers as the stakeholders. Right? But as per the definition from PMI, as per the way we should think about stakeholders, team members are also stakeholders. Right? So when you involve the stakeholders, it helps you in improving the requirements and decision making. It also reduces resistance. You all are project managers, and you would know this better than me. Right? That building a good interpersonal relationship reduces the escalation. Right? It helps the project management run smooth because you have good relationship with someone. Right? So and how would you build that good relationship? When you engage with them, when you involve them in the project, when you tell them what is happening about the project, when you are honest about it, when you are transparent about it, that's when they will help you in the project. And when the stakeholders are helping you in the project, it reduces a lot of resistances. Resistances like approvals, decisions, working, team members doing the work. Right? Lot of resistance can be reduced, and it will be very, very helpful in the project. Right? It also creates realistic expectations. See, when you involve the stakeholders regularly, you become more clear about the requirements. You become more aware of their expectations. The next 2 tasks that we will discuss will be about aligning the expectations and managing the expectations. Right? So project management, managing stakeholders' expectations, aligning the stakeholders' expectations are so important that there are 2 tasks out of 8 in people domain, which means 25% of your effort should go into ensuring the expectations. Right? How would you do that? By engaging with the stakeholders, by involving them in discussions, by involving them in planning, by involving them in solving problems. Right? It also strengthens the support for the project. Right? The more you engage people, the more they become aware of the project, the more they can support you. It's a very simple thing. If they don't know what is happening in the project, they cannot support you. Right? Also, it helps in identifying issues earlier. Right? What happens is, let's say, for example, I'm running a project and I'm showing a report. Okay. Now on this report, I look at it, my team looks at it, and we find something. Suddenly the management looks at it and they ask a different question. Customer looks at it and they ask a different question altogether. It happens a lot. Because when you are involved in something, you probably are missing the bird's eye view. And when somebody from outside looks at it, they very quickly understand that. Right? So involving people from different backgrounds, from different nooks and corners of the project helps us in identifying risks and issues earlier. That is why we should engage stakeholders. Right? It helps us understand the requirement better. It improves the decision making. It reduces the resistance, and support is strengthened. It also creates realistic expectations and identifying issues and risks earlier, which means it is helpful, and that's why we should do it. Right? That is why this is important. So what should the project manager do? What are the essential actions? Right? Identify stakeholders continuously. It is not a one-time job. Right? If you study that, okay, during initiation, there's a process that we should identify stakeholders. That does not mean that we will identify stakeholders only in the beginning. Right? Every time some change happens, every time something changes, every time you see that some changes have happened in organization, outside the organization, stakeholders have changed, which means you need to identify and update your stakeholder register. Right? So as project managers, what is one of your essential actions? Identify stakeholders continuously in the project. What else? You must analyze the stakeholders' characteristics, their power, their interest, their influence, their direction of influence, how much they can create a problem in the project, how much they can support in my project. Right? You need to be aware of that. Only then you will be able to take that help. Only then you will be able to take the positive help, and only then you will be able to reduce the negative attitude towards your project. Right? So you must analyze your stakeholders well. Right? Based on your analysis, you will prioritize your stakeholders and you will tailor your communication and engagement with them. You cannot create an email and send it to all the stakeholders and believe that, okay, everybody would have understood. Your management might have 300 such emails in their mailbox. They will not even open it and see. Right? Your team member who is in execution is working at construction site where mobile and laptops are not allowed. They will only see it in the evening or maybe next day or maybe on Friday. Right? So you have to understand who is that stakeholder, what type of constraints are there. Based on that, you will tailor your communication. We'll see this more when we talk about task number, I think, 8. Yes, where we'll talk about the communication. Okay. But the point is that as a project manager, whenever you're engaging with the stakeholders, communication is a big part of engagement. Engagement is not completely only communication, but communication is a big part of engagement, which you must customize based on different type of stakeholders. Right? You should also execute and update the engagement plan as you find more information. You, whatever your plan is, you implement that. You find some new situation, come back and update the plan. Plan is a live document. Live document means any document that is updated regularly. It's not a document that you created, it's a dead document. Okay, it has been created and it has been placed somewhere. It will never change. I don't think there is anything in the project which is a dead document. It might get updated. Okay. Yes, some are very actively changed, some are very rarely changed, like contract. Unless until big things happen, the contract will not change. Unless until big things happen, project charter will not change. Right? But those can also get changed. It's rare, but it can change. However, scope management plan, quality management plan, stakeholder engagement plan, these changes very quickly in the project. Okay. So if there's a need to update it, you will update it. Right? You also need to build trust and alignment with the stakeholders. Create that interpersonal relationship good with the stakeholders. They will support you in your project. Let us try to see some exam scenarios. A person affected by the project was not previously included and now raises concerns about a project decision. What would you do? Right? As a project manager, you will first meet with that person. right? What is the situation? The situation is that there's a person in the project, probably we did not identify them as stakeholder, and now they are asking for something. It could be anything. They're questioning something. What will you do? First thing is meet with them, right? Discuss with them, understand and validate whether they are responsible. I mean, they could impact the project, or they have a decision, or they are getting impacted by the project, which means they are a stakeholder. So first meet with them and validate that if they are stakeholders or not. Once you have done that, understand their interest, their influence, which means analyze, right? Analyze the role in the project. Go back, update the stakeholder register, and determine the appropriate engagement plan for this particular person. Right? Very simple. There's a problem that is happening. We must solve it. How do we solve it? First, we meet, we get it validated. Once it is validated, we update our documents and the plans. What should we avoid doing? Right? We must avoid saying that, okay, this person was not identified as a stakeholder. They are not in my stakeholder register. So they are not my stakeholders. I will ignore them. Ignoring would be a bad thing. Right? We should never ignore any type of concern. It may happen that they're not a stakeholder. If they're not a stakeholder, then why are they raising concern? Right? So you will need to validate that. Right? So ignoring the stakeholder would not be a good thing. Immediately defending the decision is also not good. Right? Sometimes we are human beings, right? We take a decision and if somebody questions it, we start defending it. That is also not needed as a mature project manager. Right? Yes, we may make a mistake. It is very much possible. So if it is a mistake, we'll correct it. If it is not a mistake, we'll say that, okay, it was not a mistake. But for that, we'll need to validate it, right? So do not ignore the stakeholders. Do not start defending your decision, or do not start communicating without first understanding their concern. Right? Neither ignore them nor say that, okay, whatever you're saying, we'll do it. Oh, we forgot you as a stakeholder. We need to be clear from both the angles. Are they stakeholders or not? If yes, then I'll do certain steps. If not, then I'll do certain steps. Right? Neither would I immediately agree, nor would I immediately reject it. Okay, so any option that talks about ignoring the stakeholder, immediately defending the decision, or communicating without understanding would not be a good choice. Okay. There's something on the chat box, update the issue register as well, or log the issue. Yes, see, these are, again, any document that needs to be updated, you would update that. Right? What we are trying to discuss here is that this is a scenario. These would be typically a good choice. Does that mean we need to update the register? Yes, update the stakeholder register. Do we need to update the plan? Yes, we need to update the plan. We need to determine the project. We need to update the plan. Right? So yes, update the document whenever it is needed. It should be done. As we discussed, the documents are live. We must do it. Great point, by the way, in the chat box. All right. Scenario number 2. A senior or influential stakeholder stops supporting the project, rejects the deliverable, or regularly misses important meetings. It would be any of these three. Okay, in the exam, it would be anything that they have stopped supporting, they have rejected the deliverable, or they are regularly missing the important meetings. What would you do? Right? Situation is again same. Whenever we are dealing with people domain questions, discuss with the person in the concerned. Right? So engage the stakeholder directly to understand the reason for their assistance, and then tailor your engagement plan. Any option that says that you are meeting the person relevant for that particular situation and trying to resolve that problem would be a good choice. What should you avoid doing? Just because they are senior or influential, you should not start escalating it. Right? As a project manager, your job is to handle all these things. These are execution related issues. You will handle it. If it was business related problem, somebody else will handle it. Right? And hence, escalating immediately would not be a good choice. Nor should you start removing the stakeholder from communication. Just because they are creating a problem, they're asking for support, they are not, just because they are not coming in the meeting, you should not remove them from the list. Right? You need to figure out why they are not coming. You need to work on bringing them into the meeting rather than saying that we will not discuss with them. Right? That will also not be good. nor should we send generic status reports. Right? Just because they're not present, we have not understood their expectations, and that's why we are sending whatever we are sending with to everybody. That should also not happen. We need to understand these are influential stakeholders, they're powerful stakeholders, they can create huge impact in our project. If you start sending generic reports, we will not get that support from them. When the approvals are needed, when subject matter experts are needed, when funding is needed, when issues are happening, and it will happen in the project, we will not get that support if we just keep generic status reports and okay, I'm sending every Friday, I'm sending a report to that person, I'm keeping them engaged. No, that's not the level of engagement needed in the project. You need to talk to them, you need to understand what they like, you need to understand what they don't like, you need to understand what type of report should be sent to them, and then build a process around sending that type of report so that you can get the support from them. You need those kind of supports in the project. Third, a stakeholder expects an outcome that is outside the agreed project objectives. Right? So whatever objectives, whatever purpose, whatever goals were decided, whatever stakeholder is expecting now is outside that boundary, or it conflicts with the expectation of other stakeholders. Either it is beyond the boundary of the project, somewhere here, or there are two stakeholders who are having difference in opinion. What would you do? Right? Typically, you will bring both of them together for a discussion. Facilitate that discussion, clarify the needs. Understand the constraints of why they're asking, show it to them that this is what we had discussed, this is our constraints, it may not be possible, or it may be possible, whatever it is, discuss with them. Then work towards alignment. Align both the stakeholders together, or align the stakeholder with the project. Ultimately, after your discussion is done, if you realize that the change is needed, then use appropriate change control process. Right? But that will happen after the discussion. Just because a stakeholder is expecting something from outside the scope, we will not start making the changes. First, we'll understand, is the change really needed? Will this change help the project? Will we be able to make that change within the approved budget or anything? Do we need approval from somebody? Have they approved it? Then we will make those changes. Right? So it will go through that integrated change control process. What should we avoid doing? Avoid accepting every request. Right? Just because the stakeholder is suggesting, just because the stakeholder is a key stakeholder, an influential stakeholder, we will submit ourselves to them and we'll accept everything. Is not a good choice. Neither should you reject it without discussion, nor should you accept it, nor should you reject it without discussion. Right? You should also avoid allowing the most powerful stakeholders to decide unilaterally. They should not be there to dictate the things. If that is happening, you should figure out a way to stop that. Right? So what we are trying to see here is that if you see such options, it's an indication that it is a bad choice. Okay. What should be the mindset? The mindset suggests you would engage before you escalate. Escalation is generally the last resort. You would escalate after trying everything. Then, before you try to convince somebody, before you try to persuade someone, first understand the need and then start taking actions. Tailor your communication to different stakeholder types. Based on your understanding, based on their interest, based on their influence, based on their power, based on their attitude, you would decide your communication with them. Then treat engagement as continuous. Right? It should not happen that you have identified the stakeholder once, we have decided the plan once, and then done. We have put a tick to all the process. Yes, this is what PMI said. I have done everything. It's not like that. We have to do it continuously to ensure that there is constant support that we are getting, constant support that the stakeholders are getting throughout the project. Okay. And finally, any question that you're solving, if you see that the options are talking about seeking alignment, it's always better than universal satisfaction. There are many decisions in the project where not everybody will be satisfied. And you don't have to satisfy everybody. You cannot do that. It is impossible for a human being to satisfy everybody involved in the project. So our job is not to satisfy everybody. Our job is to seek alignment. I wanted this, somebody else wanted that. If I can facilitate a discussion, if I can have a meeting and have them understand which one is better and they can decide, it's good. If not, I'll have to find a midway. If not, then I'll have to uh, talk to the management. I have to escalate and then decide something which is beneficial for the project, not for that particular person. Okay, so alignment towards project is more important than everybody's satisfaction. Right? That is your mindset. This is how you would solve even more questions correctly in the exam. Any questions in this, anyone?
Yes, Amit, I have
Please,
one
please go ahead.
question.
Yes, Ganesh, go ahead, please.
Yeah. If there is a scenario that we have registered senior stakeholder in the stakeholder register first, and then while going forward, the senior stakeholder has assigned his responsibility to the junior person,
Okay.
and he is attending some meetings, but he is not that much. I mean, a decision making person, and we face the issues during the project. So, how
Hmm.
to attend this type of questions?
See, same thing would happen. Okay, what is happening in this situation is there was a senior stakeholder. Because of their unavailability, they have delegated their task to a junior stakeholder who are not powerful enough, influential enough to take decisions. If
Yeah.
that's happening, discuss this scenario back to the senior stakeholder. And when you are discussing, don't discuss alone with this senior person. Go with this junior person also. Okay, so that it does not feel like that you are talking behind the back of somebody. Right. So there may be one situation, one option that would say talk to the senior stakeholder or set up a meeting with the senior stakeholder. One option would say set up a meeting or discussion with the junior stakeholder. Right. Both are aligned to our mindset. But there is a third choice that says set up a meeting with both of them. That is better.
Okay.
Okay. So whenever you are discussing something on which multiple parties are involved, multiple people are involved, that discussion should involve all of them. All relevant stakeholders should be present in the discussion.
Yeah. Thanks. And another query.
Yeah,
So,
please.
in the new exam set, how we look at the communication and stakeholder engagement questions? Like both are interrelated. Means some questions are interrelated. So,
See, typically what happens is most of the tasks are interrelated.
yeah.
Okay.
But this
Well,
more interrelated.
I-
So,
I'll talk about that. See, what happens is the task one is, let's say, vision, right? Second is about conflict. There could be a conflict about the vision of the project, right? The third task is about leading the team, creating the vision, conflict management, engaging with stakeholder, which is the fourth task. Everything involves leadership, right? So yes, they talk about these 8 different responsibilities, but most of the tasks are interconnected. So will you see a question which is talking about multiple tasks? The answer is yes. Okay. Ultimately, the mindset that we are learning is not applicable only to one task. It is applicable to any other task also, right? Because these are helpful and it will never be contradictory that in one task we are learning about this mindset and in other tasks we'll learn about some other mindset. That will not never happen. Okay. And hence you don't worry about it. What you should do is you should focus on the mindset, you should focus on the understanding and then apply that in the exam. Was that your question? I'm sorry, Ganesh, I cut you off. Was that your question?
yeah, like my question was, if now communication is moved to different domain, and stakeholder engagement is in different domain, so how we expect the questions, for both the this.
Questions would still be similar to what you would have seen earlier as well, right? Now the stakeholder engagement and communication both are moved in people domain, right?
Yeah, yeah,
These both were earlier in process domain.
yeah.
So earlier the understanding was that they would discuss about the process, right? Identify the stakeholder, then analyze the stakeholder, then prioritize the stakeholder, then create a stakeholder engagement plan, right? Then monitor it. That was the process. So earlier the questions would be more towards that, ultimately applying the same mindset. Okay, but more towards way of working type of question. Here now it will be more about skills. How do you do that? What should you do? What should be your mindset? Right? What is important? So those type of questions will be more in these type rather than asking you calculate the number of communication channel. What are the different types of communication? Those type of questions will not be there. Okay,
Okay, yeah,
which might have happened earlier.
Yeah,
right?
true, true. Yeah,
It
that
will
was
be, it will be more about the skills like interpersonal skills, the soft skills that we talk about, right? It will be discussing whatever we have discussed. It will be more on that. And that's why you will see that I'm not talking about processes, which which I'll discuss, right? We'll start discussing about WBS, we'll start discussing about the budget, we'll start discussing about schedule network diagram. All those things will happen in process domain. But here our focus should be completely on the skills, our mindset, the way we think, the way we deal with people. Okay. So those type of questions will be there.
yeah. Thank you. It was very insightful session. Thanks.
No problems. Thank you, Ganesh. Any other question? Anyone? So now what you should do is again go to the mock exams package, go to the task as I showed last time, and solve task number 1.3 and 1.4, probably 10 questions each. Okay. On Sunday, we will be meeting at 6:30 p.m. Okay, for 1 hour, 1.5 hour, as much as it takes to discuss the questions. Okay, 6:30 p.m. IST, where we'll be discussing the questions. Whatever doubts that you might have from 1.1 or 1.2, some people have not taken, so please try to take that today or tomorrow, Saturday, if you have time. Right? So solve those 10 questions, 20 questions here, 20 questions, you will have solved 40 questions. So whatever doubts are there, note it down on notebook. Okay, that this is my doubt, this is the question number. I will share the screen. You tell me which question number do you want to discuss, and then we can discuss those questions also. But in order to make that effective, please note down the question number, note down your doubts. Okay, if you start reading the question when I'm showing the screen, it will take a lot of time and then it will not be helpful. Okay, so note down the question number, note down your doubts, whatever it is, and then let's meet on Sunday, 6:30 p.m. We will discuss the doubt from these tasks 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4 also. Okay, and then on Monday again, similarly, we'll meet and we'll start covering 2 tasks every day. Okay. Yasim, you wanted to say something. Please go ahead.
No, actually, I was about to ask few things about the questions itself. So I
Okay.
think
So
we can
we
raise it
can
together.
connect on Sunday, yeah?
Yeah.
And then we can discuss. Oh. Yes, please go ahead.
As I understand from task 4 until to task number 8, they're duplicating between this people domain and process domain. But as you say, this as soft skill, from 4 to 8, they're duplicate.
No, it's not duplicate, it's interconnected. Okay, so see, these are the 4 tasks that we discussed about vision, about conflict, about leading the team, about engaging stakeholders. The other 2 are aligning and managing stakeholders' expectations. Right? Then the next 2 is about knowledge and about communication. Okay, so what we discussed is that, see, when we talk about engagement, can we do engagement without communication? No. Right? Can we lead the team without handling conflict, without vision, without engaging stakeholders? No. So what I said is that every task is interconnected. Okay, so we don't have to necessarily think about which task is this question, which task is that question. All we have to do is solve questions and just ensure that you have covered all 26 questions, all 26 tasks. The reason I say this is, well, it may happen that you are solving 500 questions, right? But all are solved from the 12 tasks only. There are 14 tasks that you did not cover. And that is why during revision, during our discussions, we suggest that you go task by task, because that will help you in understanding you have made the progress. Okay. Otherwise, somebody would do 500,000 questions and they will believe that they have done a lot of practice, but they missed the other 14 tasks. Okay. That should not happen. And that's why we suggest that you go task by task. Does that mean that these tasks are mutually exclusive? No. In no way anything is mutually exclusive in projects. In project, many things are interconnected. Teams are also stakeholders. Suppliers are also considered as your team. When you are working on scope, you have to think about budget. Whenever you are thinking about budget, you have to think about resources. Right? So everything is interconnected. But in order to understand that if I am making a progress towards the project or not, we must solve questions from all the 26 tasks. We must also understand these tasks separately. so that we have a good understanding that yes, I have covered the entire syllabus of the exam. That is why we are doing it. That does not mean that these are mutually exclusive or anything is repetitive. These are only interconnected. Okay.
Yes, but this is not my question.
Oh,
My
sorry.
question about yes, about, for example, task number 4, engage stakeholders. When we go to stakeholder domain, process domain, or knowledge area, uh, performance domain, we found the same task in the performance domain. Also, stakeholder expectation. This when we need to identify stakeholder in the process domain or performance domain. Also, uh, task 4 and 6 is the same area around about the expectation, how to align and how to manage. As the same plan and manage communication. This is aligned with, I think, interact with the communication performance domain. This is my question.
See, there are multiple things, and my suggestion to you, Abdullah, and to everybody else would be do not get confused with a lot of terminologies. Okay. See, there are knowledge area, there is something called performance domain, there are these exam domains, then we have these tasks, we have process groups, we have focus areas, right? There are so many things. My suggestion would be do not get confused with that. Just be updated with that. When they used to talk about knowledge area, that they used to talk about 10 knowledge areas. Same thing: scope, schedule, cost, budget, risk, this, that. Okay. Then they said, no, we don't want to talk about knowledge areas. We want to look at this project differently. It should not be called a knowledge area. It should be called performance domain, because project management needs to perform. If they only have knowledge, it's not good enough. That's how they change the definition, right? So now they don't talk about knowledge areas. They talk about performance domain in PMBOK 8, right? There are 7 domains. In 7, there were 8 domains. So they have called it now the 7 domains. So there are these performance domains. Then you have something called exam domain, where you only have 3 things: people, process, and business, and 26 tasks, right? Now, very important understanding. PMBOK 8 is for project management, right? It helps you in managing projects better. Should you read this for your PMP? Yes. Consider this as one of a reference book. That yes, if I read this, I'll understand project management better. If I understand project management better, I'll be able to solve questions better in PMP. Right? But just reading PMBOK will be enough for my PMP? No. Right? So this is how you differentiate all the things. First thing is to understand the project management. Okay, from start to finish. That's why you complete the course. And in the course, you go start to end. Whatever task, whatever domain doesn't matter. What matters is from start to end, how the project is getting managed. Okay, and then this is about project management. The exam domain, the task, these are about PMP exam. Right? Your focus in this should be during revision. Have I revised all the 26 tasks or not? Have I seen questions from all the 26 tasks or not? It is just to make you more confident about it. By reading PMBOK, can you pass the exam? Yes. But after reading the PMBOK, if you do the revision also, you will feel more confident, because yes, I've seen the questions, I've seen the types, I've seen all the tasks, right? And hence we should not get confused. The reason I've added these two also is because it's just the same. Earlier they used to call it process group, now they call it focus areas. So whatever PMI talks about, these are just different ways of looking at the same thing from different angles. As the project evolves, the understanding also changes, right? But when I'm talking about the exam, it should always be my exam content outline domain. which are these three domains, and not performance domain, right? People, process, and business environment. Right? There are 8 tasks in people, 10 tasks in process, and 8 tasks in business environment. While you are doing the revision, you should try to solve at least 10 questions from all these domains, so that you would say that yes, we have practiced enough from all these tasks. And then when you do the full mock exams, you would anyways cover the 180 questions. So think about exam content outline, these 3 domains for your revision. Right? For your study, you should focus on the course that you have attended, that you're going through, for the training that you will attend, or PMBOK 8 if you are studying that. Right? This is the focus. Here the focus is project management. Understanding how to manage projects, understanding how to manage projects better, and then seeing some questions here and there. But when you are in the revision, last 2-3 weeks of your preparation, this is where you should focus on the domains and the tasks. Okay, so answer to your question, Abdullah, is that yes, there would be some repetition, there would be some interconnection. You will see something there, you will see something here also. It will happen, but you need to be very clear on what you are studying for. Initially, you study to learn project management. Later, you study to pass PMP exam. That's what the focus should be. Have I answered the question?
Okay, thank you. From my side, I have one last question.
Please.
I read guide from BMI about type of new question, their scenario and multiple choice. And,
yes.
When we focus on the people domain,
typically, yeah. No, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Which type of question when we go to this people domain? Multiple choice like previous or
it could be anything. It could be anything. Okay, so it's not that people domain will have only this type of question, MCQ and not case study, or process will have only case study, not MCQ. It's not like that. In every domain, you might see multiple choice question, you might see case scenario, you might see graphic based question also. It may happen. Okay, so any domain can have any type of questions, but the number is very less. Okay, case study, you will see in the exam only 2 case studies coming to 10 questions. Okay, some questions with multi-select, those would be another 10 to 15. Okay, graphics, drag and drop, those other type of questions would be around 5. Okay, remaining around 160 would be multiple choice questions with single select.
But the number one scenario, I see there long comprehensive to read.
That would be two passages. There will be 2 passages with 5 questions. We'll practice that next week. Okay, there will be 2 passages with 5 questions each. A good long passage followed by 1 question. Same passage, you will be solving 5 questions on that. That is your case study. In the exam, there are 2 such case study passages, total of 10 questions in the beginning itself. And then comes the other type of questions.
Okay.
But it could be of any domain, it could be of any task. There's no information on which task or which domain they'll come from. It can come from any place. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. I will see you on Sunday for doubt clearing sessions, and then on Monday to continue this task discussions. Thank you so much. We have discussed task 1, 2, 3, and 4. In the same manner, we have tried to understand what the task is. We have also discussed certain scenarios, minimum 3 scenarios for every task. What we might see in the exam, why this task important, and what should be the mindset in order to answer the questions. Same thing we will follow for today's discussion also, starting with task number 5. Okay, as the name suggests, it's about aligning the stakeholder expectations. Who are our stakeholders? We have discussed in the task 4. Anybody who holds the stake in the project is your stakeholder, which means anybody who can get impacted by the project or who could impact your project. is a stakeholder for you. It is very important that we engage with them throughout the project so that we can keep them informed, understand what risk might happen, understand what issues might happen, what challenges might happen if they are thinking about any changes. So we need to build a good relationship with them. We need to keep all the stakeholders engaged throughout the project so that we can gain that benefit from engaging the stakeholders. Now, the task 5 talks about aligning stakeholder expectations. All the stakeholders, when you start talking to them about the project, they will have certain expectations. Right? I want this in red color. I want this in black color. I want this delivered in a week, in 2 weeks, in 5 weeks, something of that sort, right? Which we also call as requirements. So there are certain requirements and there are certain expectations. In people domain, when we think about it, we are talking about aligning the stakeholders' expectations in task number 5. Right? So if you talk about people domain, then this is task number 5 that we are talking about, which means there will be 3 more tasks left in our revision. What we have covered already is task 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I hope from our platform you have answered the questions from these tasks. We also had a session on Sunday where we discussed the doubts and everything. Right? If you have not already attempted task-wise questions, please go to the mock exam package and attempt minimum 10 questions from every task so that you can say to yourself that yes, I am preparing in the right direction. I'm able to check my progress as well. Right? Today we'll be talking about 5th one. So same way, first we'll have an intro, then we'll discuss what are the essential actions by the project manager to ensure that we can align their stakeholder expectations. Then we'll discuss 3 scenarios. We'll try to understand what could be a good choice, what we should avoid, and then we'll discuss the mindset. Right? So aligning stakeholder expectations basically means creating a shared and realistic understanding. So we are trying to build a shared understanding about what we are building. So if I'm constructing a building, how many floors will be there? What would be the area? What would be the interior of it? What would be the exterior of it? Whatever I think is also what the stakeholder is thinking and is also what is there in the document. That is what is called aligning stakeholder expectations, building a shared understanding. Now think about it. When we say building a shared understanding, can we do it by just sharing the document? Not 100%. Right? You can share the document, people would understand it. Some people would understand, some people will not understand. There would be a gulf of evaluation. Gulf of evaluation basically means that whatever you want to convey is not what the other person understands. Okay, if you take an example, if I have to convey, let's say 10 points today, right? Not all of you will understand all the 10 points. Right? Somebody would understand 8, somebody would understand 7, somebody would understand 6. And I'm not talking about skills or anything of that. It is just that whenever communication happens, there is a gulf of evaluation. There is a gap in understanding whatever is being said. And it happens both ways. The person who is communicating would have a skill because of which they are not able to convey the points properly. The person who is listening also have their own skills because of which they're not able to understand everything that has been said. Right. So out of 10 points, 5, 6, 7 points is what people would understand. So what should we do? We should visit and revisit those points regularly. Right? You complete a training and then you attend sessions like this. Why? Because you want to recollect whatever was discussed. And when you look at the same thing in a different manner, you understand the complete picture of it. Right? That's why in training we cover from start to end of the project. In revisions, we are discussing task by task. Although we are discussing the same thing, but with different emphasis from a different angle. All right. Same thing you have to do in project also. Whenever you are talking about expectations, there will be some certain understanding, certain expectations from stakeholders. You will understand that. Based on that, you will create your own documents, requirements, and everything. Then you need to show it to the stakeholders. This is what we have understood. Can you verify this? They will ask you to make some changes. You make those changes. And then regularly, whenever stakeholder changes, whenever some change happens in the project, whenever you make progress in the project, you engage with those stakeholders and ensure that these expectations are well understood. Okay. So this aligning of stakeholder expectations is not a one-time activity. You need to do it multiple times throughout the project, and then there is a chance that you will be successful. There's no guarantee. All that we do is to improve our chances that we'll be successful. Okay. What type of expectations? What is it that the project will deliver? why it matters, and what constraints in the project would affect the delivery. Okay. So idea from here is that aligning stakeholder expectations means whatever the stakeholder understands, whatever we understand, whatever the document says must be similar. And for that, we will have to put regular efforts. Now, why is it so important? During the discussion itself, you would have understood and you would have recollected whatever you already know, that if you align the stakeholders well, there would be a shared definition of success. You will know what success means, other person will also know what success means. I typically use some simple examples. I'll just explain this. Assume that you have to get your house painted. For the painter, success means painting the house completely. Right? For you, it may mean painting plus cleaning the mess that the paintings will create. For you, it's obvious. You are making the mess, you would clean it. For the painters, it's obvious. I am a painter. I will only paint. I'm not a housekeeping guy to clean the mess. You should have had another person who would clean the mess. Right? You should have hired a housekeeper. I will not do it. See this? Because of the work that we do, because of the demography that we are in, because of the experience that we have had and the way of working, the definition of success could be very different unless and until it is very clearly mentioned, discussed, and aligned with everybody. Right? So aligning the stakeholder expectations will ensure that these kind of issues don't happen in the project. Right? Second is it prevents misunderstanding. It's almost the same thing, right? If you are building a shared understanding, it will prevent the misunderstanding. Saying the same thing in a different manner. Then it also supports better decision. See, when people are aligned, they would want the project to be successful. If they want the project to be successful, they would put extra effort to understand what is happening. They will put extra effort to learn about things, and they'll put extra effort to ensure that whatever decisions has been taken are better decisions in the project. And whenever you take decision, it should always be for the benefits of the project. Right? Not for the sponsor, not for one person in the team, not for the project manager. That decision should always benefit the project. Right? It also reduces conflict and resistance. Right? If you are aligning the stakeholders' expectations, which means you are engaging a lot. If you are engaging a lot, you are meeting with them regularly. When you're meeting with them regularly, the team, the stakeholder, the customers would be aligned to what we are trying to achieve. Yes, there will be some difference of opinion, and those are important. There should be some difference of opinion, but you will see reduced disagreements, you will see reduced fights, you will see reduced resistance. That's why you should align the stakeholders' expectations. Right? And it also builds stakeholder confidence. Many times in the project, this is what is needed the most. Right? If stakeholders are not confident, they would trouble your team regularly. What's the update? What are you doing? Why are you not sharing this? Why are you not sharing that? Why is it happening? Because stakeholders are not confident that this team will be able to deliver it. So they want to intervene. And when they intervene, they frustrate the team. Right? So having that confidence among the stakeholders is very important to run your process smooth. Okay? Because when the stakeholders are confident, they would believe the CS team is doing, and they'll wait for weekend. They'll wait for month end to get the progress report from you, to get the updates from you, even if you're doing it at that frequency. Because they have that confidence that yes, the team is doing well. How will they build that confidence? Just by telling them, hey, have the confidence in me? No. Right? You will have to show the work regularly. You will have to discuss with them regularly. You will have to engage with them throughout the project. You will have to align the expectations. That's when this confidence will be built. Many a times, if you don't have the process, if you don't have people working well, but if you have built the stakeholder confidence in the project, most of the things start running smooth. Okay, so this task indeed is very important. How would you do that? As a project manager, first categorize the stakeholders. Understand which stakeholder or which stakeholder group needs more attention, which stakeholder groups need less attention, who needs report in a certain fashion, who needs to be called for a site walkthrough, who needs to be shown the product, who only needs the PowerPoint presentation report, right? So for all those things, you will categorize the stakeholders when you are understanding the stakeholders better, right? Then you understand the expectations from all these stakeholder groups, analyze if there are any gaps between the expectations, right? Then discuss whatever gaps that you have identified, discuss with the stakeholders and facilitate these discussions so that everything is aligned to expectations, the requirements of the project, the objective, vision, whatever you are working on. There should be a shared understanding among everybody, right? Also, use mentoring opportunities whenever required. Many a times it will happen that if you are using AI in the project, the stakeholders would not understand. If you are using Agile and the stakeholder does not belong to Agile approach, they have not seen Agile approach, it is happening for the first time, you may have to mentor them on what is happening in the project, how we are doing it, how Agile functions, why you are not showing them the schedule, why you are not showing them the progress. You will have to discuss all those things, right? So as a project manager, in order to align the stakeholders' expectations, you would need to categorize the stakeholders, understand what category do they belong to, discuss with them to understand the expectations, figure out if there are any gaps, discuss with them, bridge those gaps, and whenever required, provide them the mentoring needed on the project. Okay, you don't have to provide mentoring on their career or anything. On the project, what is happening in the project? Why are we doing whatever we are doing? Right? So this is how you align the stakeholders' expectations. Now let us look at the scenarios. What we'll do is we'll discuss 3 scenarios. We'll try to understand and relate it to project scenarios, which is what you might see in the exam. And then we will discuss what would be a typical good option and what should we avoid. Okay. So in this case, if you see, the scenario says 2 influential stakeholders expect different outcomes or disagree about the project priorities. So there are 2 different expectations by 2 different influential stakeholders. Right. In such cases, what should we do? We should facilitate a discussion between the stakeholders. I think this is 5th task. I would have at least talked about this 10 times. If there is any disagreement, if there is any conflict, if there is any difference of opinion, if 2 people are not understanding or if 2 people are not on the same page, the best choice for you would be to facilitate a discussion between them. So the mindset is that whenever there is a misalignment of any sort in the project, the best thing the project manager can do is to bring all the relevant parties involved and discuss with them so that they can understand the underlying cause of it. In this case, because it is expectation, so you are understanding the underlying needs, right? Once you have understood what they want, what they need, then match it with the project objectives and ensure that the stakeholders reach agreement, right? It's very logical. In exam, it may be a little bit difficult to spot what they're talking about, right? But with practice, of course, you will understand. The point is that when 2 people are having any sort of difference about scope or risk, about objective or the way of working, about anything, about the culture of the organization, anything, if there's a difference between 2 people, discuss with them together. Don't go and discuss one by one. Do not tell them what is to be done. Always try to facilitate discussion between them. That is a better choice. What you should not do is, as a project manager, saying that, okay, I will select the expectations. Okay, whoever is more senior, I'll go with them. Wrong. See, just because they are senior does not mean that they're right. Okay, or implementing both the requests without analysis. Okay, I have to keep both the stakeholders happy. Amit said that we should keep all the stakeholders engaged throughout the project, and hence I'll go with both the points. No, keeping the stakeholders engaged does not mean agreeing to everything. Keeping the stakeholder, aligning the stakeholders' expectations does not mean that we'll do both. We have to align the expectations. If one person says A, one person says B, we have to discuss and then decide whether it should be A, it should be B, or it should be C. But whatever it is decided, both have agreed to it. Right? So we never have to go with both the requests. Also, escalating, as we have discussed, is the last resort. Right? So this is also something that we discuss regularly. Whenever you see escalation in an option, be very critical about it. Have we done everything before we escalate? Right. So I would rather facilitate a discussion, discuss with the stakeholders, understand their needs, match it with the objectives, and then try to reach agreement, then escalate it to the sponsor. What will the sponsor do? Same thing. So why will I not do it? Okay. Second scenario is a stakeholder expects additional functionality, an earlier completion date, or an outcome that is inconsistent with the approved project constraints. Right? In the previous scenario, we discussed that two stakeholders are not aligned. Here we are discussing that the stakeholders' expectation is not aligned to a particular document. It could be anything. It could be the schedule, it could be the budget, it could be the scope, it could be anything. Right? So the point is, if the stakeholder is not aligned to whatever has been approved, what would you do? Right? Typically, you would meet with that stakeholders, take the document with them, clarify the expectations, present whatever that document information says, and collaboratively align the expectations with the objectives and constraints. Tell them that our project has this particular goal, our project has this particular objective. You are taking it in a different direction. So bring your expectations to match the objectives. Okay. If at all you realize that the expectations of the stakeholder itself is better than the objective that we have decided, or better than the document that we have created, or we need to change the document, in such cases, process a formal change. Okay. So first you would try to meet the stakeholders, show them the documents, show them the schedule, show them the approval of whatever it is, and tell them that you are thinking it wrong. Okay, not this bluntly, that will not be there in the PMP exam option, but whichever option says that you are going to talking to them and telling them that this is not aligned to the document would be a correct choice. Right? But in some cases, it may happen that you have to revise the document itself because whatever the stakeholder was saying was beneficial for the project. In such cases, process the formal change, which is called integrated change control, and change the document to align it to the stakeholders' expectations. What you should avoid? Do not make any unsupported commitment. Oh, sir, definitely will do that. Right? Typically, we see that happening in sales and marketing. Right? We handle execution, we handle project management. Right? So we don't have to make any unsupported commitment. Unsupported commitment means if you have not analyzed, if you have not understood how much delay would be there, if you have not understood what would be the impact on the project, don't make any commitment. Just because it could be a key stakeholder. So just because the stakeholder is a key stakeholder, don't agree to them with everything. And definitely do not make a commitment if you have not analyzed. Okay. Also, you don't have to reject the request immediately. So first discuss, analyze, and then either reject it or accept it. Don't do any of these things without analysis. Okay. Changing the plan, definitely you cannot do that. As a project manager, you created the plan with your team and got it approved by the management. So if the plan is to change, you must take the approval again. Right? So you cannot change the plan informally. Right? Next is scenario number 3. A stakeholder repeatedly delays the decisions and provides unsuitable direction because they do not understand project governance or their responsibility. See, the same situation you will see in a different way in the project. Right? You are managing traditional approach project, the stakeholder is asking you agile ways of thing. You are managing agile approach project, they are discussing traditional ways of thing. Right? They are not aware of what the approach is. They are not aware of the progress that they are making, and they are demanding something different. Right? So basically what is happening is that the stakeholder is not aware of how the project is being managed, and that's why they are not able to take decisions on time. What should be done? We should clarify the stakeholders' role and organized suitable mentoring or guidance to help them perform it effectively. See, mentoring does not mean you are teaching the stakeholder how to be a stakeholder. Right? Mentoring basically means that you are discussing the project related information, project related roles and responsibilities, project related expectations from stakeholders. Right? And you're mentoring them throughout the project. Whenever something changes, you help them understand it. The more the stakeholders understand, the faster they'll take decisions. What should be avoided? Do not start carrying out the responsibilities that stakeholder is supposed to do. Right? Whether it is team doing the work, not able to do it, you don't go and start doing the team's work. Product owner is not able to prioritize, you don't go and prioritize a product backlog. Vendors are not providing certain things, vendors management is not able to manage their team, you don't go and manage the vendors team. Right? Management is not able to take decisions, you don't start taking decisions. Stakeholder is not able to approve something, take decisions on time, you don't start taking that, right? Every role has defined responsibilities. They should be able to handle that. Your role is to ensure that they are meeting the responsibilities. Right? So do not select any choice that says that you will be taking over the stakeholder responsibility, or it will say that you will be doing it yourself because stakeholder is busy. Right? Also, you do not exclude them from any decisions, and definitely you don't escalate their behavior immediately. Right? So we discussed 3 scenarios. One is where 2 stakeholders were not aligned. Second, in which the stakeholder was not aligned to something that was approved. And in third, we discussed that a stakeholder is not able to take decisions because of this misalignment. They don't understand things. So start providing the mentorship. When 2 stakeholders are not aligned, discuss with both of them. When a stakeholder is not aligned with the document, bring that document to the stakeholder, discuss with them, get it aligned. When the stakeholder is not clear about anything about the project, set up a meeting, try to mentor them, guide them, help them understand the project so that they can understand and they will not make these delays. Right? So typically, I think these are the 3 scenarios. Here and there, 2 sentences up and down is what you will see in the exam. Okay. Ultimately, this is what they will be testing, whether you are able to select these kind of options and whether you are able to reject these kind of options in the exam or not. Okay. What would be the mindset that will help you in answering these questions? We have discussed all these mindset. I'm just presenting it one more time. Right? Identify the expectations before trying to align them. When you don't understand what are the 2 different expectations, you cannot align it. Second, facilitate rather than dictate. Facilitate means calling them in a meeting and helping them talk about it, helping them discuss about it, rather than you're calling a meeting, but you're telling them what is to be done. Right? That would be dictating, that would be ordering. You should not do that. Then align expectations with project objectives. Ensure that whatever decisions are being taken, whatever is the understanding in somebody's mind, it should always be meeting the project objective because that's what ultimately we want to achieve. Then be transparent about constraints and trade-offs. Okay, there would be many cases where you will not have the complete freedom to take whatever decision that you want to take because of limited budget, limited resources, limited time. Those are called constraints. Right? Trade-offs are basically whenever you say that, okay, we have 2 choices, A and B, we are going ahead with A and we are not doing B. This is like a trade-off. We'll not do this, we'll do this. We'll reduce the timeline by adding the resources. These are called trade-offs, right? So whenever you're trying to balance the constraints through trade-offs, absolutely be transparent. Right? Tell them that you are adding resources to reduce the time, so it will hit the cost. Tell them that you are rearranging the schedule activities, so it may include a lot of risk. Right? Be transparent about it. People would appreciate that, and people would help you in project also. Then use mentoring before escalation whenever appropriate. Right? Always try to guide people, always try to teach people, always try to train people if they don't understand anything before taking any harsh decision or before escalating it to any third party. Okay, this is what aligning expectations consist of. Right? I would request you can go to our mock exam package, go to task people domain, task number 5, right, and attempt some 10 questions. Right? On Sundays, we typically meet for our discussions. So bring those questions, whatever doubts that you have, and we'll clarify those doubts. For now, let's move to task number 1.6. But before that, if there's any question, let's take that. Any question from this task, anyone?
Hi, Amit. I have one question.
Please.
Yeah, actually, I was solving some questions from task number 3, 4, but I see some questions from this task over there. There was a question set of 70 questions.
Yes. See, it'll happen.
Like,
Some of the tasks are interconnected. Okay, so whatever tasks that you see, these are basically project manager's responsibility, right? So these responsibilities cannot be mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Okay, these cannot be mutually exclusive. Leading a team also means managing conflict, right? Engaging stakeholders is in a way aligning the expectations, is in a way managing the expectations. So yeah, you will see those uh, interconnected tasks. So you may feel, okay, this question is particular, this task is question could be of that task, which is fine. Okay, what we have done is we have done our best of categorization. So you could trust that, and you can just continue whichever question that you do from the platform. It will help you in your preparation.
Yeah, okay. And how to stop on 10-15 questions when it is starting?
See,
Because it is a
currently,
setup.
yeah, currently that is not possible. So what you can do is you can submit it, okay, and see your
Okay.
solution. Then come back and take the test. Skip the first 10 questions that you have done and start with 11. Then again submit. Check only from 11 to 15, 11 to 20, 11 to 30. You can do it that way.
Yeah,
There are
okay.
5
Okay.
attempts possible for every test.
Yeah,
So
understood.
you can break
Because
your
I see this mentoring, I saw that mentoring question was in the task number 3, and I was
mm,
okay, no
because
problem. Thank you.
it's a leader team, right?
Yeah.
So when you are leading the team, you may want to mentor them as well. So these things will be there. See, it's not, as I said, it's not mutually exclusive, which means it does not mean that this task only means this task. It is aligned. As a project manager, you'll have to do everything. But when you are studying, you should know that, yes, I have covered all the 35 tasks. That's why we 26 tasks. That's why we discussed that.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other question? Anyone? Okay. If not, then let's move to the second task, which is also very similar. One was aligning the stakeholder expectation. This is managing the stakeholder expectations. So now we will discuss task number 6, manage stakeholder expectations. So far we have discussed all the 5. The 5th one was align the stakeholder expectations, right? So where we discussed, okay, if the 2 stakeholders are not aligned to each other, what should we do? If one stakeholder is not aligned to the project objective, what should we do? If the stakeholder is not aware of what is happening in the project, what should we do? Right? We are trying to build a shared understanding there. Here, whatever you planned to do, you would be executing it, which means you are managing the stakeholder expectations now. That's what this task is all about. Okay, people domain, 6th task, manage stakeholder expectations. As you can see, in the people domain, there are 3 tasks: engage stakeholders, align stakeholder expectations, manage stakeholder expectations. So 3 tasks out of 8 talks about stakeholders, right? As we discussed, why did they change in 2026? Because they realized that the product manager's role has grown beyond just managing the project, right? But also aligning the project to the business environment. That's why the business environment share of the exam went in high, right? Earlier it was 8%, now it is 26% of the exam. On the same line is additional adding of multiple tasks. Right? So out of 8, if you see that 3 tasks, which is nothing but almost 30% of the people domain, is your stakeholders, which also suggests that when your role increases in business environment, you will have to deal with stakeholders more. Okay, that's why these changes are there. Although these things will not be discussed in the exam, but when I share these ideas of why it is happening, you will be able to appreciate the importance of the changes well, and that will build your mindset, which will help you in answering the exam questions. Okay, let's discuss this task. Same thing. First, we'll discuss the intro, then what should be the actions, then some typical scenarios, 3 scenarios, and then we'll discuss the mindset that will help you in answering the questions. So this is managing stakeholder expectations. It means continuously monitoring whether the project outcomes remain aligned with what internal and external customers expect. When you go to exam content outline and you see manage stakeholders expectation, they have emphasized on this internal and external customers both. Internal customers means your team members, your within your organization, the cross-functional team to whom you interact. Those would be your internal customers. External customers means those customers who pay your company to purchase something. Right? So in order to ensure that you are managing the expectations, you will have to continuously monitor that whatever we are building is aligned to both internal and external customers' expectations. Why is this so important? Because it maintains the stakeholder confidence, right? Yes, in the last task also we discussed the same thing, that it helps build the stakeholder confidence. Here also it does that. Here the only change is we are talking about internal plus external stakeholders both. It's not that in the previous task we were not discussing external. We were discussing in general, but here the external is emphasized a little bit. Okay. It also identifies any dissatisfaction early. Right? So if you are maintaining the expectations, you are regularly monitoring the expectations, you are regularly monitoring the work and aligning it to the expectations, you will be able to see on the face of the customer whether they are dissatisfied, right? Or whether they are not happy with it. They might not complain every time, right? But you will be able to realize that. Second, it also prevents uncontrolled commitments. Right? Many a times what happens is stakeholders would ask you something and you will not be in a position to say no. It may be a key customer, it may be a big customer. So you cannot always say no to them, right? But if you align whatever they are asking to whatever the project objective is, you can always discuss with them. You can always have a dialogue with them to tell them that whatever you're asking is not aligned to the objective. And it may create such kind of impact in the project. This way you will be able to discuss better. You cannot just say, no, I don't want that. Oh, I don't think this will help. What you'll have to do is you'll have to understand, okay, what are they asking? What is the project objective? And if whatever they're asking, will it help in achieving the objective or will it divert us from the objective? Whatever is happening, your analysis would give you a great way to have a dialogue with internal and external customers. Right? So continuous monitoring is important to ensure that whatever is you are building is whatever people want. Right? I believe you all are on LinkedIn, or probably you would be receiving some messages on WhatsApp from your professional groups, and you would have seen this, what we want and what people build. Right? We wanted something else, somebody has given us the tree or something else, what we wanted was something different. And it typically happens. And it will happen and it will continue to happen if we don't monitor whatever we are building is exactly what is wanted or not. You cannot just say, okay, I'll take the requirements, I'll close myself and my team in a particular door, even if I'm working on laptops. Okay. And then I'll come out 6 months later and show them whatever we have done. It's not possible. How much ever you spend time understanding the requirement, refining the requirement, discussing the requirement, writing down every single thing, yet you cannot close yourself and say that I'll build it and when it's complete, only then I'll show it. You will have to discuss regularly on what the expectations are because teams can make mistakes, expectations can change, environment will change, which will change the project continuously, right? So you cannot do that. And hence that continuous monitoring is important. Then it also keeps the outcomes relevant, right? If you align whatever you are doing to expectations, you'll always build relevant things, right? So when WhatsApp came into market, they sent you the WhatsApp application where you could only send the text message. Then you could send images, then you could send video. They kept taking feedback from you. They kept understanding your expectations and they kept on building that based on your expectations. That's why you find WhatsApp so relevant these days. Many other applications also came, but they died because they could just not beat WhatsApp on stakeholder commitments, on stakeholder expectations, on managing the stakeholder expectations. Right? Typically, you will see all those businesses which are successful because they could manage the stakeholder expectations. So same thing is applicable to our project also. It also improves the acceptance and adoption. Right? Acceptance means they said, okay, we agree and we have taken the product. Adoption means, yes, we have taken the product and we are using it as well. You want both, right? Nobody wants to build a product that nobody else wants to use. And say, okay, that was my job to construct a building. If nobody is living there, it's not my headache. I'll go to the next project. Typically, what would happen with that is that if you have done a project where people are using it properly and they're happy about it, they will talk about it with multiple people. somebody will talk about it to your management as well. And that management will ask, okay, who did that project? Okay, this project manager did that project. Okay, give him or her promotion. Give them a bigger project. Right? That's how career grows. So it is very, very important that we don't just focus on delivering the work, but also try to ensure that whatever we are delivering is actually going to be useful. You don't have to design the systems. You don't have to decide the features. All those things would be done by business, but you have to ensure that, okay, whatever we are building is actually going to be useful. That discussions can be definitely done by the project managers. Right? So why should we continuously monitor and manage the stakeholder expectations? To build their confidence, to see if they're getting dissatisfied, to ensure that we are not making any uncontrolled commitments which is not aligned to the product objective, to build something which is relevant and useful, and to ensure that people accept it easily and people use the products also easily. That's why, as a product manager, you must manage the stakeholders' expectations. How would you do that? First, understand the expectations. If you don't understand it, you will not be able to manage it. Right? So identify the customer expectations. Then confirm the shared understanding. Once you have understood their expectations, talk back to them. Discuss with them that this is what I have understood. I hope that this is clear. And let them verify that, yes, this is what my understanding was. Then monitor the expectations and satisfaction throughout the project. Analyze if there are any gaps, address those gaps. Okay, understand the expectations, verify with them, keep checking every time whether we are aligned to the expectations or not. If there are any gaps, take some actions, respond, and realign the expectations. Right? So my suggestion would always be that you read these tasks together. Right? Whenever you're revising, whenever you're trying to look at it, think of all these three tasks together. Engage the stakeholders, align the expectations, and manage the expectations. In the exam, you don't have to spot, okay, if this is task number 1.5, this is task number 1.6. No, right? You just have to understand what it is about. So what will you understand about? You will understand that it is about stakeholders. And once you know that for stakeholders, I have three major responsibilities. I should engage with them regularly. I should align their expectations. And once I've aligned it, I should also manage it regularly. This way, you will be prepared for 30% of people domain question, which is 33%, which means you will be prepared for 10% of the exam. There's no rocket science in this. Right? PMI has given you everything what will be there in the exam. If there are 8 tasks and 3 of those tasks belong to stakeholders, then you can say that, okay, approximately, not exactly, 30% of it would be from stakeholders. 33% is your people domain contribution. 30% of 33% is approximately 10%. Right? Which means 18 to 20 questions, because questions are total 180. You can always beat these things. Right? So expect around 20 questions based on stakeholders and your engagement, aligning and managing the expectations with them. Right? What type of questions? Let us see 3 more scenarios. A deliverable meets documented requirements. Right? So whatever was requirement, you have delivered. But the stakeholder says it does not satisfy their actual business need. So whatever they needed is not what was delivered. Although you have delivered what was required, what was discussed, but that's not what they needed, is what the stakeholder is saying now. Right? So the question is, why are the stakeholders saying it now? How did you miss it? Okay, see, in this case, don't think that, okay, stakeholder is delaying the discussion. Okay, you can always say, okay, stakeholders can make mistakes. They can say different things and they can wait. They can delay approval. They can tell you, but that is the stakeholders' problem. What is your way of thinking? My way of thinking is that stakeholders did not tell me about their need and I am coming to know about it now. Where did I go wrong? Why could I not manage the expectations better? Why could I not monitor the expectations better? Why is it that after deliverable, I come to know this is what the stakeholders need, right? How could I have handled, engaged, aligned, and managed the expectations better? That should be the mindset. It helps in solving a lot of questions in the exam. Right? Second thing, somebody of you were saying that reading questions might take time. This is one of the way in which you can speed up your reading. Right? Many longer sentences will always have some connectors. Connectors like and. connectors like but, connectors like therefore, right? Connectors like subsequently, consequentially. Right? When they connect something with a word, right, with connectors, you would know, okay, what is happening, right? So if I'm reading this, I'm saying a deliverable meets documented requirements, but so automatically mind says, okay, we are met the requirement, but something else has happened. So whatever we are going to read is going to be opposite of this, right? If it said and, okay, which means that something we have done and we have also done something better, right? So this way you will be able to improve your understanding of the scenarios if that's a problem, right? So how do we solve this? Meet with the stakeholders, understand the expectation gap, review the agreed requirements, whatever the success criteria was, and determine an appropriate response. What is this? This is a problem, right? Whatever you have delivered is not what the customer expected, or is not what the customer is now saying that it is what is expected. What will you do? Discuss with them, understand what happened, what problem happened, right? And try to create a response on how would you solve it. What will you not do? Immediately rejecting that, okay, whatever you are saying is wrong because we have done it according to the requirements. That's not a good way of project management. Yes, whatever was in the requirement document, you have delivered that, you have done nothing wrong. But the stakeholder is saying that I wanted something different. So you cannot say that, okay, this is what the document was, this is what we have delivered. Thank you. Handshake and bye. Right? We have to manage projects. We have to ensure that we meet the business needs. So we discuss with them. We understand the gap, right? And we determine an appropriate response. Appropriate response could be to ask money from the stakeholder saying that, see, whatever we have delivered is as per the requirements. Now you are saying this, which was not discussed earlier. So in order to do that, we will need some resources. And for that, we need some money. It's completely fine. That could be my appropriate response. But rejecting it just because it was not meeting the requirements is not a good approach. You cannot just stop it there. You have to bring it to conclusion. Stakeholder is not happy with whatever was delivered. So either you deliver it free of cost, or you ask them money to deliver, or you convince them that it is not needed. You have to conclude it. You cannot immediately reject the concern. Okay? And definitely not without assessing the impact. So first analyze and then take decisions. Second scenario, an internal or external customer requests a different outcome after reviewing a prototype, demonstration, or product increment, right? So you discussed with them, you understood their expectations, and you created a prototype. You created a sample. You showed a product demonstration, or you completed a release, you completed an iteration, and you are showing it to the customer, and they're asking something different. Little bit aligned to whatever was discussed in the previous scenario. What will we do in such cases? Same thing. Discuss with them, clarify the expectations, understand what could be the impact of this different outcome that is expected, and figure out what type of changes might be needed in order to complete the work. You are showing it to the customer to ensure that whatever you are delivering is exactly what they needed, but they are saying something else. So if they're asking you for something else, you will have to go through the integrated change control process. Integrated change control basically means that you are reviewing the change, understanding the impact of that change, and then taking decisions. What should you avoid in such scenarios? Avoid accepting the request informally. Yes, they are customers. Yes, they are key stakeholders. We don't reject their expectations immediately. We should also not accept the request immediately. Whether it is acceptance or rejection, it should happen after after our analysis of whatever is being needed. Okay, so neither accept nor reject. Ensure that you analyze, you understand the impact, you go through the integrated change control. Basically means that involve all the people who are needed to be involved to discuss this and then take decisions rather than accepting or rejecting immediately. Scenario number 3, stakeholders continue attending meetings, but feedback, participation, or acceptance indicates declining confidence in the project. No stakeholder is going to come to you and tell you that I have less confidence in this. Sometimes they might, but you will have to see it. You will have to understand it through discussions. Understand it through feedback, participation, and whatever acceptance they're making, whether there is confidence or not. If you see such scenarios that confidence is down in the stakeholders, what should you do? You should improve your engagement with them. Right? The only reason why a stakeholder might not be confident in whatever is happening in the project is because they are not engaged properly. Okay, so first engage with them, try to gather some more feedback, understand what is the reason of dissatisfaction, right? And improve your engagement. What should you avoid in such cases? Avoid waiting for a formal complaint. That okay, if the customer complains, then we will see what is to be done. If the customer escalates, then we will see what is to be done. For now, it is just our analysis of it. We may be wrong, we may be right. Don't wait for that. Right? Don't let the complaint happen in the project. Don't let the escalations happen in the project. And as a project manager, there's no formula for this. You will have to look at them, talk to them, discuss with them, engage with them, and understand that there may be low confidence, there may be some dissatisfaction. Don't wait for a complaint. Okay? Or don't try to just start sending more reports. Okay? See, they are dissatisfied. They have a declined confidence. They're not participating. The feedback is not good. And you said, okay, I have to engage more. Engage more is not the solution. Engage better is the solution. Right? So just because they have low confidence, and I said that, okay, it is because of less poor engagement, does not mean that we need to share them more reports, more messages, more mails. That is not needed. What is needed is discuss with them, understand the reason of dissatisfaction, and then adjust the engagement accordingly. It is not saying increase the engagement level. Adjust it. Maybe you need to discuss less with them. Maybe you are sharing so many things that they're confused. Okay. So always be open about the solutions that you decide in the project. It could be this, it could be that. Don't try to judge the solution itself. Okay, that will also help you in answering a lot of questions in the exam. Be open about it. If it is not mentioned, I'm open about it. If it is not mentioned, it is agile, it could be traditional, it could be agile, I don't know. If it is not mentioned that we have budget or we have the required budget, we may have the budget, we may not have the budget. I cannot assume it. Right? So we should not assume that this satisfaction is because we are sending less. We need to figure that out. Right? We need to identify the cause of why that is happening and then take actions. Assumptions are not a good thing in project, neither it is a good thing in PMP exam. Okay, so what should you keep in mind in the PMP exam? Monitor expectations continuously. Right? Do not say that, okay, I have monitored the expectations and done in the project. Monitor it continuously, especially during the time where there is a lot of pressure in the project. Lot of escalations happening, lot of mistakes happening, and we suddenly stopped monitoring. We should not do that. We should monitor expectations continuously. Listen before defending. Many a times what will happen is the stakeholder would want something that is not needed. Many a times it will happen that they would say that whatever you have given is wrong. Don't start defending yourself immediately. Yes, I'm repeating this. You may be 100% correct. Your team may be 100% correct that you have completed whatever was documented. But that does not mean that you need to start defending yourself. Defending means, no, this was as per the requirement, this is what we have done. Rather than that, listen. What are they trying to say? And if it is something different from what was documented, tell them that this is the document, this is what we have discussed, here is the sign off, and because of which we did this. Now, if you want that, then I'll need to go back to my team, discuss, analyze, and understand what would be the impact, and come back to you with a solution. That is always better. Don't start defending yourself. Listen and then respond. Right? Separate expectations from approved requirements. Two different things possibly. Right? Expectations could be different. Approved requirements could be different. You need to understand the difference between that and then work on it. Just because it is somebody's expectation does not mean I'll start providing that. Right? They expect me to bring lunch and dinner to them. I cannot start doing that as a project manager. I cannot start taking them to uh, pubs for drinks on Friday nights just because it is their expectations, right? We have to deal with requirements. So try to understand that there's a difference between what they expect and what could be the requirement. We don't have to submit ourselves and say that this is what you needed, I'll do it. If they say something different, I need to analyze, understand, and then respond. Right? And respond proportionately. Right? Whatever is needed, we understand it and then we respond. Focus on outcomes and satisfaction. Right? Many a times, uh, because of the pressure in the project, we tend to focus too much on the output. Output is the product. Okay. Output is this mobile phone. Outcome is that I'm able to use it for WhatsApp, for call, for videos, for Instagram, for social media, everything. Those are my outcome. Right? So if somebody focuses only on building the phone, they might not create the best phone possible. And if they don't create the best phone possible, people will not purchase it. I might purchase it now, but you cannot fool me twice. I'll not purchase it later. So that's what it is. As a product manager, we must think about the output for sure, but we must also think about the outcomes. Okay, so that was about managing stakeholder expectations. So we discussed how we need to understand what the expectations are and create a plan on how do we regularly monitor their expectations, match it with what we are building. If there are any gaps, then bridging those gaps of any kind of dissatisfaction. That's what this task is all about. If you keep these points in mind, it will help you in answering the questions correctly. Okay. Any questions in this, anyone? There's a question on the chat box. What is the difference between prototype and MVP? Okay, I'll just explain this. See, prototype is a sample of something. Okay, which means it's a miniature version of something. Let us say that I'm not very good at drawings, but let us say that, how do I create this? Okay, let's assume that this is a chair. Okay, this is where people will sit. Now, before you building this chair, what you do is you create a miniature version of it, which can be hold in hand. You will be able to see it. Right? You will be able to rotate it here and there. You can see everything up, down, this, that. So that will become your prototype. May not be useful. I mean, you cannot sit on this chair because it is small. Right? That's what you have done is created a prototype. What is MVP? MVP is minimum viable product. Okay. In this case, what happens is if let's say this is still the chair. Okay. What would be an MVP of this? MVP would be just the chair. Let's assume it's a wooden chair and that chair is your MVP. Minimum viable product, which can be used, which means minimum number of useful features. Right. So when I look at chair, at least I should be able to sit. And if I sit on this, it will be useful. Then what will happen? I'm not able to sit for long. So I will add some cushion to it. I've added one more feature. Then I'll say, okay, if I sit for long, I get pain, I need to stretch and this and that. So I'll make this bendable. Right? Then I'll say that okay, if I have to go to my colleague, then I have to get up and then go, okay, let's put some wheels to it so that you can continuously move. Right? So what you're doing is you're continuously adding more useful features to this product. Right? But when you remove all the other features, keep only the essential ones. So minimum number of feature that is needed for people to start using it, not purchasing it. Using it is called MVP. Okay. If you talk about minimum number of features needed to purchase it, then it becomes MMF, minimum marketable feature. So minimum number of feature that will help you sell the product. Here it is focused on using. Right? So if you just give me wooden chair, I'll start sitting, but then I'll give you a feedback. If I have any pain, if I have any concern, I'll give it and I keep improving that. That's what MVP is. Okay. So prototype is very simple. It's not a product that is useful. MVP is a product which is useful. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Thank you, sir.
No problems. Any other question, anyone? Anything in mind? Okay. If not, then please attempt the 10 questions from these tasks as well. And try to go through the explanation. Even for those questions which you got correct, try to go through the explanation. It will help you in understanding the mindset. It will help you in understanding the ways questions are framed. Okay. Tomorrow we'll meet and we will discuss the remaining 2 tasks in people domain, which will cover our people domain. Right. So 1.7 is knowledge transfer. How do you ensure knowledge transfer in the project? And 1.8 is about communication. Again, 2 tasks which are similar, aligned to each other. You share more information, you can maintain knowledge, and to share the knowledge, you will have to communicate as well. We'll see both the tasks in the same manner that we have been seeing the tasks so far. Okay. For now, thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow when we start with task number 1.7, knowledge transfer. Thank you so much, everyone. All right. So now we will talk about task number 7, which is help ensure knowledge transfer. There would be a lot of opportunities in the project where you would need to understand what information was shared. You would record that information and you would want to convert that into knowledge so that your team understands what's happening in the project. The team understands how it has been carried out and there is a continuity in the project. Now, the task name is help ensure knowledge transfer. So similar to all the other tasks that we have covered so far in the people domain, we would discuss what the task is. We will discuss why it is important. We'll try to understand some scenarios which will help you in understanding what could be there in the exam from this particular task and the mindset. Right? So trying to map this task. So in people domain, we are talking about the 7th task, help ensure knowledge transfer. We have covered the other 6 tasks so far. Now we are discussing the 7th. Similar to all the other tasks, we'll have an intro. Then we'll discuss what are the essential actions that a project manager should take in order to carry out this responsibility. Then we'll also discuss 3 scenarios, which would help you in understanding how the questions are framed in the exam. And we'll discuss exam mindset, which will help you in understanding how to answer the questions. Right. So what do we mean by knowledge transfer? And what do we mean by the responsibility of ensuring knowledge transfer in the project? Right? Ensuring knowledge transfer means making critical project knowledge. Right? So whatever these knowledge are, the status of the project, the processes we are following, the methodologies, the approach, the resources, their performance, right? These are all critical project knowledge. So making these project knowledge available to the people who need it, when they need it, and in a form that they can understand and apply. Whenever you're trying to understand anything, right, trying to going through the definition helps a lot in that understanding. See, the line here, the sentence here is not saying that, okay, making the knowledge available in the project. It is saying making critical project knowledge available to the people who need it, when they need it, and in a form that they can understand, which means we'll have to take special care to first understand who would need this information, then to plan when they would need it, and to ensure that we keep this knowledge documented, accessible in such a form that if we share it with them or they access it, they're able to understand it, and not just understand, they should be able to apply it as well. Right? So just storing 26 GB of files in a file and folder and saying that, okay, this is the folder, go ahead, access this. Right? And you will understand everything about the project. They will understand nothing about the project. Okay. So when you share too much information, then it's no information. Right? What you should do is you should try to segregate the information, try to understand different forms of sharing the information, understand what you are sharing, how should you share, right? So there has to be a deliberate amount of effort put into ensuring that we are able to transfer the knowledge. There are 2 things to it. One is called tacit knowledge and another is called explicit knowledge. Explicit knowledge is very easy to share. Right? For example, PMP certification related information. Right? There are 3 domains, there are 26 tasks, these are the enablers, these are the tasks, why you should do the task, this is the scenario, and I can share that. I can record the video, I can share it with you, I can have a live session, I can share it with you, I can have some questions and answers, and I can share this knowledge with you, right? So this is called explicit knowledge. In your project also, you would have a lot of knowledge about project status, about resources, about tasks being completed, about tools being used. These are all your explicit knowledge, which can be easily shared. While there are something called tacit knowledge. Tacit knowledge is something which is very difficult to share. Right? So how should you prepare for PMP certification exam? Easy to share. How do I manage my own project? Is very difficult to share. So what will happen? You will have to sit with me in order to see how I manage the project. Whether I do it good or not is debatable. Okay, but if you want to learn how Amit must be managing the project, in such case, you will have to sit with me. If I want to know how you are managing project, I'll have to sit with you, and then I'll have to understand it. How do you respond to customer? How do you respond to the team members? When escalation happens, what happens to you? Right? When somebody praises you, what happens to you? So these are something which are your inner traits, which is very difficult to share. Your experience, the way you respond. Right? These are very difficult to share. And these are called tacit knowledge. Okay. As a project manager, you must ensure that you provide your team enough opportunities to share both tacit and explicit knowledge, which means you must record the documents, you must archive the documents, you must use version control, you must use configuration systems. But at the same time, you must provide enough opportunities for team members to meet with other team members, with suppliers, with customers, with management, because that's when they will learn what cannot be recorded. That's when they will learn what cannot be written and shared. Right? So both the type of knowledge are important. Keep this in mind in the exam also. You will have to answer the questions based on tacit and explicit, both type of knowledges. Right? Why is this so important? See, we are not managing project just for the sake of managing it. One of the important objective of any project is to ensure that the team, which was at a certain level of knowledge, has increased their level of knowledge. At the end of the project management team should be much better than they were before when the project started. Right? Knowledge creation and knowledge sharing would help a lot in that. Right? So let us try to see some points on why this task is important. First, it reduces dependency on individuals. Right? If there are people who are the only ones who know certain things, and if they are absent, then who will share the information? So you would want to capture certain kind of information with your project so that your dependency on a particular subject matter expert, particular person who has the knowledge reduces. It cannot be eliminated, but it reduces. Second, it also improves team performance, right? If you ensure that knowledge sharing is happening, one person will learn from another person will learn from this person, and together everybody will learn from everybody else. And that is why it is helping in improving team performance as well. Then, because you have shared knowledge, because you have captured knowledge, which means you have also captured the lessons that you have learned, you have also captured the problems that happened, how did you solve it, right? People can learn from those mistakes and it will prevent repeated mistakes. When knowledge is shared, when knowledge is captured, it helps in supporting the continuity and transition. When designers need to transition the information or transfer the information to people who will execute the work, when people who are executing the work needs to transfer some information to people who will test the work, when people who are testing the work needs to transfer the information to somebody who will check and accept the product, when they accept the product they would need to share the information with the operations team, right? So throughout the project there is always somebody who is sharing some information to somebody else and it flows, right? And that's why many people also call it as upstream and downstream. It's a very common language used in IT. Other companies also may use this term. Right? Upstream means somebody who is using the information now, and they will share their knowledge of the project to somebody in downstream who will use that knowledge. Right? So project team will share that information to operations team. Operations team will start using the product that was developed. Right? Designers could share that information to somebody who is going to manufacture the work. Right? So this continuity would be balanced. This continuity would be smooth. This continuity would be continuous. Okay, if I can say so, if knowledge management is done properly. Right. Another point, it also strengthens the organizational capability. Your team learns, which automatically means that your organization is also learning. Right? Their knowledge is also growing. And if you store it properly, other people would be able to learn from your project. You will be able to learn from others' project, and everybody will be able to learn from each other. Right? So that's what knowledge transfer, establishing knowledge for continuity helps in the project. Right? What does it do? It reduces dependency on individuals, improves team performance, you make less mistakes, you ensure that there's a continuity of information from upstream to downstream, and it also strengthens organizational capability, which means it is very, very important. Now, my question to you is, do you put enough effort in your project to ensure that you capture the documents well, to ensure that you provide the access to those documents to all the relevant people who need it? Do you think about the form in which you should store it? Do you think about how we should summarize this information and share to multiple people? Do you think about the continuity of sharing the information? Right? If you are doing it, absolutely great. Right? And you must be doing it. There are always people who are documenting and everything, but we need to stop and think. Right? Are we doing it in the best way possible? What else can I do? How can I make this knowledge transfer even better? Right? Once you put efforts on that, your preparation for the PMP exam becomes easier because practically you are doing it. Otherwise, for the exam, we are already discussing this. Right? So what should the project manager do? First, identify what are the critical knowledge that we need to share, store, and transfer to somebody. Then gather and organize that knowledge. Select any appropriate transfer method which will help in transferring it properly. Right? It could be storing on a shared folder. It could be sharing through email. It could be sharing through WhatsApp. You should be creating a WhatsApp group. Anything is possible. You just need to figure out what should be the best transfer method. Then create a supportive environment. That environment is very, very important, where team members are supporting one another. If somebody is making a mistake, the other person is supporting them. Right? And that's when they gain some knowledge, and that's why they become better in the project. Right? Similarly, if you have created the environment, if you're using the method, you need to also ensure that at a regular interval, you are verifying whether people understand whatever they need to understand and are they able to apply it or not. Right? If these actions are taken, it will help in ensuring the knowledge transfer in the project. Now let us see the scenarios that you might see in the exam. How do we answer it? What could be a good choice? And also how to avoid making mistakes in the questions. Right? Okay. All right. So this is scenario number 1. A subject matter expert or experienced team member will leave soon, and important knowledge is held primarily by that person. Right? As you can see, all the scenarios that we have discussed so far and that we will discuss in future also are very, very practical. Right? Almost all of you would have faced this scenario, that there's an experienced member who understands something better than something other people, and that person is now leaving. Right? And they have this knowledge that they will take with them. What should we do? Right? In such cases, again, we will follow the process, identify the critical knowledge, create a transfer plan, and use methods such as pairing, mentoring, demonstration, and documentation. Pairing basically means assign somebody to work with that senior member, at least till their notice period, so that this person will learn whatever they were doing. Both tacit and explicit knowledge would be gained. Right? Some kind of mentoring that this person can give before they leave. Right? Demonstration of their work, the product that they have developed, and the documentation, not just documentation, right? Do not fall into an impression that if that person is leaving, we will be able to uh, capture all the information, all the knowledge that they have through documentation, and our team will learn. It will not happen. Okay, that is why we have notice periods before people leave. So use that notice period well. Ensure that people are working with them, seeing what they are doing. Everything should be captured. This way you will be able to improve the chances that you're capturing maximum knowledge. Okay. Also verify that other team members are able to understand and they can apply the knowledge. Right? Not just understand it, but also apply the knowledge. So we'll have to verify it. Many a times I have seen in project teams when the people have left, then we put all the blame on them. We have not done anything. That person had done it. Right? But as a project manager, you should know, you should be aware of it. Right? That when people will leave, all the blames will go to them. So ensure that you build a good knowledge transfer process. Okay. What should we avoid? We should avoid asking the expert only to write a document. Not a good thing. Any choice that says that we'll write a document and you just be a little bit critical about it, will writing just the document help in this transfer of knowledge or not? We should do something else also, which is to discuss, have workshop, have demonstration, have mentoring, have pairing. All those things are important, not just documentation. Also, delaying action until the final day of the person leaving or requesting an immediate replacement without transferring the knowledge, these things are going to hamper the project's progress. And hence, whenever you look at these options in the PMP exam, you should be a little bit critical about it. See, never do I say that you should eliminate it completely. Yes, there will be some option that you know that is wrong, but you should be critical because the test is on critical thinking. How do you compare the options and decide? Okay, so that's what you should do. Next scenario. New team members or people in different locations are unable to complete their work because they don't understand project processes or previous decisions. Right? So there are people in different locations and they don't have the same level of understanding. Right? That shared understanding is not there. And because of which they are not able to complete their work. What should we do? Right? We need to assess the knowledge gap. What is it that they don't know about the project? Arrange interactive transfer activities. Just again repeating, just sharing the information, just sharing the documents will not help. When we share the information, we also need to check that sender has sent the information to receiver has understand it, and they're able to apply it, especially in terms of knowledge. We'll see the same thing when we'll discuss the next task, which is about communication. Right? But it is very, very important to have interactive discussions. Okay, what should we avoid? Avoid sending a large collection of documents, as I said, right? 256 GB of document, go ahead. You will understand everything in the project. It will not happen. Without explanation, it's of no use. Right? And assuming that people will learn on their own is also bad. Blaming is even worse. Right? So if you see any of these options, that we send a lot of all the documents to that person, or assuming that they will learn independently, or blaming them for slow performance is not a good thing. As a project manager, we need to understand what gap is there and try to resolve that. One more scenario, right? A project team is preparing to hand over the product, but the operational team is not confident that it can support or maintain it. Right? So what is happening? The handover is being planned from project to operations team, but operations team is not confident. What should we do in such cases? Right? Conduct a structured knowledge transfer session. Right? We talk about this, right? KT sessions. Provide accessible documentation and demonstration and verify their readiness before completing the transition. Discuss, understand from them, transfer the knowledge, and check regularly and whenever needed whether they have understood it or not before making the transition. What should you avoid? Do not close the project if your operations team is not ready. Do not close your project if they have not understood the project. Do not close the project and say that, okay, it is their headache, my job is done. Right? It is not their headache, it is also your headache, because it will become your headache if you don't handle the closure and transition properly. Okay, so any option that says that close the project after sending the documents, transfer the responsibility without confirming the readiness, or assuming that formal acceptance proves the understanding. If they have accepted it, it means they have understood it. That is also wrong. See, yes, there are certain things which you need on paper, but that is not all. Right? What is the main responsibility is also to be understood. Customer has signed their scope. Does that mean they have understood everything about the scope? Probably no. So you'll have to verify it. Operations team has signed the acceptance because of XYZ pressure. But have they really understood it? You have to verify it. And that's where people domain comes into picture. Otherwise, this 33% of people domain would not have been there in the exam. Right? You would have only followed the process. You only have only created the documents. You'll have set it the process, upload the document, and done. Why do we spend so much time dealing with people? If checklist and process and documents and tools were everything about project, it is not. Right? So yes, you need to take the sign off. Yes, you need to do the documentation, and yes, you need to do carry out all the processes. But you cannot miss the people domain out of it. And people domain says, right, that once I send the documents, I will verify for the operational readiness. I'll check whether they have understood or not. And just because they have signed an acceptance paper, right, I will not say that my responsibility is done. My responsibility is to go beyond the papers and ensure that they have really understood. Otherwise, whatever happens, you can, yes, you can show the document and say that, yes, you had accepted it, and now you're asking questions, I will not come. Will that happen? If the customer is facing a problem, your management will ask you to go and carry out the operations activity if needed. Right? So you, in order to avoid all those troubles later, we should not only become somebody who follows the checklist, but a leader who leads. Okay, very important and very important task as well, just like all the other tasks. Okay, there are no tasks which are more important or less important, but this understanding is very, very important. Okay, what should be the mindset? The mindset is that we must transfer knowledge continuously. Transferring knowledge is not a one-step process or 2-3 process. It happens continuously, and we must establish that process well. Then identify the critical knowledge first. Right? Prioritization is a very important skill of a project manager. You cannot do everything at once. So you will have to prioritize what is the most important knowledge element to share and plan for it. Do not rely only on documentation. We have discussed this enough. Then verify the understanding, right? Don't just transfer the knowledge and leave it. Verify whether they have understood it or not. Verify whether they will be able to apply it or not. Also create psychological safety among your team members so that they don't feel stressed, so that they don't have a fear of making mistakes. Right? If they're making mistakes, discuss with them and help them understand that it's an opportunity to learn something new. It's an opportunity to gather that knowledge. Psychologically, they should feel safe working with you, working in that project, working in that organization. And it is your responsibility as a project manager. Okay, so that was the task, ensuring that knowledge transfer is happening properly in the project. Any questions in this, anyone? Anything that you would like to discuss? Okay, if not, then let's move to the last task of people domain. Okay, so now we will discuss about the last task, which is task 8 from people domain, plan and manage communication. Before 2026 or before July 2026, this was a part of process domain. Now this has become a part of people domain, which means the emphasis on sharing the information, emphasis on understanding the people aspect of it would increase, and that is what will be tested in the exam. Right? So in people domain, we are at the last task. It feels good to be on the last of something, right? Finishing is an important skill. Finishing, whether it is finishing the project or finishing the task in people domain, the last one. Right? Similar to all the other tasks that we have discussed. Introduction, then we'll discuss what should the project manager do. Then we'll discuss 3 exam scenarios, which will help you in understanding the question and answering the questions. And we'll also discuss mindset, which will help you in answering almost all the questions from this task. So planning and managing communication means ensuring that right people receive the right information in the right format through the right channel at the right time. You see this? I said in the last task also that if you spend some time going through the definitions that are given by textbook, because it takes time to provide the definition, right? You will be able to understand something deeper, right? As you can see, planning and managing communication is not about planning what information to share, sharing that information and checking whether the information was shared or not. We are talking about right people. We are talking about right information. We are talking about in the right format, through the right channel, and at the right time. All these things are important if you want to manage communication well in the project. Imagine a scenario: you are managing a construction project and you are dealing with people who are working at construction site. Now, because this construction site where construction will happen, because of the safety rule, your team members cannot carry the mobile phone. And you are sending everything on WhatsApp. You are sending everything on email. They will never receive that information. Or maybe they will receive the information once the day is over and they are completely tired. They may see the message, they might not see the message. You may pressurize them to see the message. They'll see it, but they'll not work on it. You may pressurize them to work on it. They'll work on it, but they'll not give their 100%. There is always a loss there. Right? So the point is that whenever we are talking about communication, we must understand whom we are sending the information to, what type of information is being sent, how we will send it, how it will be delivered, and when should we deliver it. Right? Right people, right information, right format, right channel at the right time is very, very important. Which means as a project manager, you need to sit with your team. You would have already understood the expectations from them when you would have built the scope. Now what you would do is you would try to focus only on the information, how to share it in the best way possible so that people are able to understand it and apply it in their project. Why is this so important? First of all, because most of the projects fail because of lack of communication. Most of the projects fail because the communication did not happen properly. Right? So this task is almost as important as any other task. And if I may say so, it is more important than any other task. Right? To ensure proper communication is to ensure success in the project. Right? So why do we say that this task is important? Because it creates shared understanding. Whatever one person knows about the project is the same thing the other person also knows about the project. It also supports timely decisions. If I receive the information on time, I'll take decisions on time. If I don't receive the information on time, I will not take the decisions on time. Right? Build trust and transparency. Right? When the right kind of information is shared at the right time, people would understand it well. They would know what is happening in the project. And when there is a transparent communication going around in the project, people trust the project manager. And that trust would ensure that they give 100% in their project. And that's what you want. You cannot force people to give their 100%. It's not possible. Right? You may think that you can punish, you can be strict, you can talk to them, you can shout at them, and then through the fear they'll give you the 100%. They will not. Fear does not unlock 100%. Fear only unlocks bare minimum requirements. Right? So when you have checklists, when you shout at people, when you show your power and get the job done, you're only unlocking the bare minimum that they must do so that you don't shout at them. Bare minimum that they must do so that nobody questions them. If you want that in the project, by all means, we should do that, right? But I don't think I don't think anybody wants that in the project where people are only giving their bare minimum, only doing their checklist work. Right? We want people to give their 100%. We want the people to think about different opportunities. We want people to think about different ways in which the same thing can happen. Right? We want to grow as a project team. And when the team grows, you grow as a project manager. So the trust factor helps a lot in that. And that will happen when you communicate well. If you don't communicate with people, then it is very difficult. And communicating well does not mean you should have a great English or great language in which you are doing our fantastic vocabulary. Good communication only means this: right people, right information in the right format through right channel at the right time. Nowhere do we say that it should be a fantastic vocabulary or anything. Information shared, yes, of course. The language in which you are talking is important. The grammar and the syntax of it is also important. But much more important is this. Okay. Then good communication, regular communication prevents misunderstanding in the project. Misunderstandings will reduce the mistakes in the project. Less mistakes means less rework. And it also supports governance and accountability. When the right kind of information is shared, people understand what they're responsible for, people understand what is happening in the project, you will be able to escalate properly, you will be able to build that collective accountability in the project as well. Right? So, communication, is it important? Yes, definitely important. One of the most important things in the project. So, what should the project manager do? Define the communication strategy. Sit with your team and decide how you are going to manage this communication part. Which tools are going to use, which channel are you going to use, what type of information will be shared, to whom it will be shared, how often it will be shared, everything. Build that communication management plan, define that communication strategy. Okay. Then your communication must be tailored to the stakeholders and team members that you are communicating with. Any report that you are sharing about information, it must be customized according to your teams and stakeholders' needs. Right. As a product manager, you should promote transparency, right? How would you do that? When you become transparent. When the product manager is transparent, the team looks at the product manager and they see that, okay, product manager has been transparent. The team will also automatically become transparent about what is happening in the project. And team's transparency is very, very important. Many a times it happens that you as a product manager only realize that there was a problem 17 days later because the team was not transparent. If the team had told you about this problem 17 days earlier, nothing would have escalated, nothing would have broken. And you need that type of transparency and collaboration in your project. And this will happen if you are also transparent, if you also collaborate, if you take all the decision yourself, you don't share the information with the team, you hide some information, your team will also hide information. And then it's not a good culture to work in projects. Okay. Similarly, you should also establish feedback loops, right? So it should not happen that the information is shared only one way, right? As we discussed in the previous task also, sender should send the information to receiver and get some feedback as well. That yes, they have understood the information and yes, they'll be able to apply that information. That feedback loop is very, very important, right? So what will we do after completing these 8 tasks? I have shared the information to you, right? Now tomorrow we'll discuss. Have you understood the scenarios? We'll discuss some questions, right? We'll have some task-wise questions also. That would be the feedback loop. So yes, I have helped you revise the things. And now I'm just checking whether you have understood and you are able to apply everything that we discussed, question-wise or not, right? So that's why we have tests. You go and you take some tests. What does happen? What happens there? You provide me the feedback. Whatever we have discussed, you have understood or not. And then if you have some doubts, we have this Sunday session that we conduct where you ask the doubts, right? Then communication becomes, I would not say perfect, but very good. Okay, there's no perfect in this world probably, but we move towards that perfection. Right? So first the training would happen, information was shared. During the training some tests happened, you understood it. Now we are doing some interventional revision where during your revision process, I'm sharing you some information in a different format. You are understanding that. Then you are going to our platform, taking the task-wise tests one by one. So every task you are able to test yourself, which is what feedback loop is. Similar feedback loop should be there in the projects also because it is way more important there than this. Okay. And then support reporting and governance throughout the project. Right? Whatever type of reporting is needed, whatever type of governance and information sharing is needed as per the organization's policy, you should ensure that. Okay. So that's what you need to do in order to ensure good communication in the project. Now let us see some scenarios. Okay. First one, an important stakeholder claims that a decision, change, or product issue was not communicated effectively. Right? So there's a claim from the stakeholder side. What will you do? Meet with the stakeholder and understand why they are saying so. Understand the gap. Right? Review what they need and update the communication strategy or plan as may be needed. Right? You don't just jump and change the plan just because stakeholder is claiming something. You need to verify this claim by discussion. What should you avoid? Avoid simply forwarding the previous emails, blaming the stakeholder for not reading the reports, and sending more generic information. Any of these things, if you see in the exam choices, you should be critical about it. It will probably be wrong. Right? So if they have not understood anything, right? If they are claiming that a decision or the issue was not communicated effectively and they have not understood it, you cannot just reshare the emails. You cannot say that, okay, this stakeholder does not read reports. Or you cannot just send generic information. You will have to really understand what that gap is. Review their communication need and then update the strategy or plan accordingly. Right? It's an important stakeholder. You will have to put in the efforts to ensure that they understand informations in the project. Second scenario that you might see in the exam, the project has a delay, significant risk or performance problem. It could be any of these three. Right? And the team is concerned that communicating it may upset the sponsor. So the team does not want to communicate about the delay, about a significant risk, about performance domain. They are afraid. This is not the culture that you want in the project. Right? So what should you do? In such cases, communicate the information transparently and promptly through the established reporting and governance process. Right? Whether it is good, whether it is bad, or whether it is ugly information, it must be shared with the stakeholders. Right? And shared not with false commitment. Analyze the thing, understand the impact, and then share the information. Okay? Include the impact, include the analysis, and recommended actions always when you're sharing. Yes, we say that bad news should be shared faster, but that does not mean that you share just the bad news. If you share only that there is a delay in the project, right, they will become frustrated. They'll become fidgety. They'll start escalating everything. Compared to that, if you tell them that there's a delay, there is a possible delay because of XYZ reason. We have worked on it. We have reduced the delay, but still there would be a delay of 2 days. We have worked on it, and in the future, we'll try to compensate on that with analysis, with data, with whatever impact that you have understood. Then it's a good communication. Just telling them that there's a delay is not a good communication. You should analyze, understand the impact, figure out recommended actions, and then communicate. What should you avoid? Hiding the problem for sure. Never ever hide the problem, and never ever let your team also hide the problem. Work with them, build that environment, build that situation, condition, relationship with them so that they share the problems with you. Delaying communication until a complete solution is available is also not a good communication. Right? You should keep them informed. You cannot leave them in the lurch thinking, okay, something must be happening in the project. You have to keep them informed. You have to keep them continuously engaged. Or changing the report to make the performance appear better. That is also not a good thing. Okay. Many a times we may be guilty of doing that. Not completely changing the report, but sometimes we do embellish the report. Embellish the report means remove something which is not good, or adding something which is better, or presenting the same information in a very polished way so that it looks good. Right? We may be guilty of that, but we should not do that. Being transparent helps much, much better than this short term thing where in the meeting it may be good, but for the long term it is bad. Right? So any option that talks about any of these three, whether hiding the problem, delaying the communication, or embellishing your report, is not a good choice. Be critical about it, compare it with other choices, and select the better choices. Another scenario that you might see, sponsor wants a high level summary. The project team needs detailed actions, and another stakeholder requires formal compliance information, which means there are three different ways of looking for information, three different stakeholders in the project, three different needs. How would you handle it? tailor the reports, communication formats, and level of detail to each audience. You cannot ignore sponsor for sure, they are paying your salary. Okay, you cannot ignore the team for sure, they are getting the job done. Right? You cannot ignore the stakeholders because they are paying for your to your company so that the salary can be paid, right? Just looking at individual thing also, if I want certain help, I need to help others. I need to understand who are these stakeholders, my team members, my sponsor, what type of information do they need, and I would customize my report accordingly. What should I not do? Avoid sending the same detailed report to everyone or communicating only in the project manager's preferred format. I like to share PowerPoint presentation. I don't care what you want. I'll always send PowerPoint presentation. Right? I don't believe in PowerPoint presentation. I believe in people coming to the site and checking the product in their hand because that's the best way to check the product. And that's why sponsors, management, executive directors, customers, CEO, everybody should come at site if they want any information. That is also wrong. Right? It is not my preference as a project manager. It's what my audience needs. Right? So as a project manager, I'm not here to share my preference of what is it I want. As a project manager, I need to understand what other people want, and my job is to provide that. That's the role that I have selected. That's the responsibility that I have selected as a project manager. And in everything, communication, reports, knowledge sharing, discussions, whatever it is there, it must be tailored to the audience rather than to my preference. So any option that says that you are sending the same thing to everybody without tailoring is not good. Or any option that says you are doing things according to your preference is also not a good thing. It's not your preference, it's the project's benefit. It's not your preference, it's the stakeholders' expectations that you have to meet. Okay, so your role, your job, your responsibility is to customize things according to the needs of the stakeholders. Rather than saying that I'll send in the same format. If you want to read it, read it. If you don't want to read it, thank you. Right? We cannot do that, so we should not do that. Now let's talk about the mindset. Okay, communication is two-way. As we discussed, sender sends the information to receiver, take a feedback whether they have understood it or not. Tailor communication to the audience, very, very important. Definitely will be tested in the exam. Communicate bad news transparently. A good news also transparently, but the special focus on bad news. Follow established reporting and governance process. Understand what your organization's policies are and follow that. Do not miss on that. Review communication effectiveness also. Take this feedback and see whether whatever information was shared is effective or not. Okay. If you keep these things in mind, it will help you in answering the questions in the exam. Okay. Now this covers the task number 8 from people domain, which means we have covered the entire people domain. What should we do next? Now this discussion has taken around 7 to 10 days. Okay, over the last 7 to 10 days, we have covered all these 8 tasks. So what you should do is, you should try to review all the mindset points discussed. Right? When you see the recordings on our YouTube channel, you get to download all the PDFs. Right? Those who have joined us and you have are there in the WhatsApp, I'll combine all the PDF and share with you. Try to review all the mindset points once. If you want, you can keep a record of it as well. We have discussed 8 tasks, and in every task, we discussed 5 mindset points. So there are 40 mindset points to go through. Yes, these are task wise. There would be a consolidation as well, which means you can combine some 2-3 points together and you can create your own list of 15-20 points. Right? So try to understand this. We will have one session where we'll discuss only the mindset. Right? Then attempt the question from these 2 tasks first, 7 and 8 on our platform. First finish those tasks and then try to attempt some question domain wise as well. We'll provide you that opportunity and we'll start discussing questions also so that you are able to verify whatever you have learned, you are able to apply it or not. Right? And more important than anything else, maintain your own note of important points for the exam. Because when it is 2 days, 3 days to your exam, nothing else will be more helpful than your personalized notes. Because this is what you felt is important, right? So far, what I have discussed is what I feel that it is important. When you create a note, you feel what is important for you. And when you review that a day before your exam, it helps a lot. Right? So, of course, the mindset points will be discussed for all the domains, and those are helpful. Whenever somebody says, what should I go through? I always send them these mindset videos, which helps a lot in preparing for the exam. But your notes cannot be replaced. So please try to maintain your own notes of whatever lessons that you learned and go through it regularly and also last day before the exam. Okay, so we have covered 33% of the exam. The next discussion would be on process domain, which is 41%. And after that, we'll discuss the business environment domain, which is 26%. Right? We'll also be starting to discuss the question and answers so that it is not just one-way communication. We have discussions from your side as well. This discussion was important. This covering of revision of new tasks, the way tasks are there, how this task will be there, was important for revision, and hence we covered that. Now we will start discussing the question and answer. I'll share you the plan, how we are going to do that. And we'll move to the process and business domain as well. Okay. Any questions, anyone? Anything in mind? So my suggestion would be, we have completed people domain, strengthen it well. Be absolutely confident that yes, I am done with people domain. I will be able to answer almost all the questions in the people domain. Okay. Do it this week. And then from next week onwards, focus on process first. So next week process, after that, business environment. That way you will be ready for the exam. Okay. If there are no questions, then thank you so much for your time, for taking out time. I know that all of you are working and taking out some time out of the work or immediately after the work. So thank you so much for your time. I will see you on, I will be seeing you on Friday at 7:30, where we will discuss how to use ChatGPT or any other AI tool that you are using for your exam prep. Right? I'll send these details, and then next week we'll discuss about process and business environment. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Vijay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.